Hello and welcome to Build On Live Gen AI Special Edition.
Also with singing now, apparently.
Why not? So, if you're watching us live on the AWS LinkedIn channel and on the AWS Developers YouTube channel. So this is a live and interactive show. So please, we want you to be interactive, don't we, Brooke?
Yeah, it's as interactive as you want to make it. This is my favorite part about doing live content. Lots of you will see my other videos that I make online, but getting to see interactions and everyone in the audience is my absolute favorite part. We all learn a lot from you, just as you can learn from us, which is my favorite part of
Excellent, excellent. And if you're watching such shows for the first time and you're like, who are these people? What's that sound? What am I doing here? Well, you're in a good place.
Right.
I'll just introduce myself, shall I, Brooke?
Right.
Yep. So I'm Derek. I'm a developer advocate at AWS. And we're going to spend the next 3 hours talking about Gen AI. And I'm joined by Brooke.
Yes, my name is Brooke Jamieson. I am not the source of the farm animal noises, but we'll get to those. I'm a senior developer advocate here at AWS. Normally, my fun fact about myself is that I am Australian because I live and work in New York City in the US, but we are in Australia for this. That's not exciting at all, everyone.
It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, so it's great to be back in Australia and in this time zone specifically, because I know every time I'm online doing other live streams, everyone wants something in their time zone. So please let me know what time it is for you in the comments, in the chat. We'd love to see. Hopefully, some people would be breakfast time. Some people, I'm sure, are staying up late. I think it's almost 11 p.m. maybe in New York.
I have no idea about time zones. Don't ask me.
It's
and we're also interested in where you're from. So full disclosure, my accent tells people I'm maybe from Ireland, but I'm actually living in Perth in Western Australia. So that's where I'm from.
Near Quokka HQ at Rottnest Island.
Indeed, indeed. So throughout the day, we're going to be joined by some guests. So we have some of our guests just in the little corner in the dungeon over there. Guests, can you wave?
Hi. We're in guest corner.
Yeah, it's not a dungeon, it's more of a database, right? Yeah.
I like the term dungeon.
Okay, fine.
It's just me.
Okay.
So we're going to be hearing from our guests later on throughout the show, and we're going to go through different aspects of how to build applications using Gen AI on AWS. So shall we just, Brooke, go through the agenda and just have a feel of what the show's going to be like?
Let's go over to the agenda. Non-stop fun. So we're going to start off with developer experience. So this is how you can build faster, more securely, and more efficiently with generative AI and AWS. We've got lots of exciting Amazon Q demos coming up in that section. What's happening up next, Derek?
So after we have some fun with Amazon Q, your developer buddy, we're going to go into RAG. We're going to talk about RAG, use cases. We're going to have a cool demo on that as well. And then before going into and transitioning to R3, we may reveal what the sounds are all about.
Right. With the sounds, though, I will say we have an incredible team working behind the scenes to make this possible. Like you see us up here, but there's a lot of people making this happen. And they are trolling us a little bit and putting in a lot of animal noises to make sure we stay awake and we stay engaged as part of this. So as a special favor to me, if you hear a farm animal noise, please pop the emoji in the chat of what you think it is, because honestly, we've been listening to some of these and I can't tell you what some of them are, even though I am from the country. Maybe it's the way they're recorded.
And it's okay to be wrong, you know. If you say dinosaur, that's fine.
Safe space, happy to hear it. Yeah.
So that's what we've got lined up of the next 3 hours. So we'll probably transition into the first section, Brooke. Have I missed anything?
Maybe. The other thing is I want to know what everyone wants to learn today.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Where are you at in your AI journey? Are you starting out and you want tips on getting started, or you're already a seasoned professional magician wanting to do a little bit more? Let us know. It's great to see, because then we can tailor the sessions to what you and the audience are looking for, because that's who we're here for. We're not just talking to ourselves like we normally do.
Normally, yes, this is true. But enough insights into us. So let's move into section 1, which is all about developer experience and how to do developer and improve developer experience.
With some Amazon Q developer. And I believe we're going to welcome May up to the stage from, not the dungeon, the database. Let us know what we should be calling this area on the side. We've got
Yes, give us some ideas. Dungeon or database or something else.
Welcome up, May. Perfect. And you're all set up.
I am.
Really a seasoned professional. So, May, what's your job title? And tell me the actual job title, and then tell me how you would explain it to your family.
That's a very tricky question. Yeah. So thank you for having me on the show. Yeah, this is really exciting to talk through a generative AI. My name is Major, and I am a solutions architect at AWS.
Yeah.
So if I were to explain it to my parents, I do sprinkle a little bit of magic on the tech stack and make sure the customer on AWS are secure, optimized, and build applications on AWS. So that's how I would explain it.
Yeah, because I always say, like, the best thing about AWS is you can build anything on AWS. The worst thing about AWS is you can build anything on AWS. So there's so many things you can do, but figuring out what you should do is the job of incredible people like me, and it makes everything so you can make it more sustainable, it can make it more cost effective, and you can get to those end user experiences that you actually want. Because often there's so many, like, think about how many ways there are to run containers on AWS. There's so many different things you can do, but figuring out the most optimal path is really, really tricky, but it's super interesting. There's so many things you learn along the way when you're figuring this out.
Absolutely, and this is what we're going to talk about today.
Great.
So we want to show the audience, you know, like Brooke said, there are so many ways to do it. So we're going to show a little demo on how to be the best way and ask, like Derek called QBuddy. So I'm going to ask my QBuddy to how to build the applications on AWS.
Friendly sidekick.
Definitely. So before I go into a demo, so I have built a demo using the Amazon Q Developer. So for those who are not aware of Amazon Q Developer, which we launched not long ago, but there has been lots of new announcement around the Q Developer. And what I want to do is I want to go through a console first, and then show a little bit of like what's in the store for the Q Developer.
Great place to start.
So indeed. So now we're in the AWS console, and firstly, I want to go to the Amazon Q, and let's take a look at what sort of a different category of Q that's available.
Yeah.
So we have a Q Business Lite, Q Business Pro, and also Q Developer. And we want to focus on Q Developer today. There are other different things we can talk about for like hours.
Oh, you can talk about it for hours. I already have and will continue to. Soon there'll be like a 24-hour non-stop live stream of me just babbling about different apps you can make.
I know. So in the Q Developer, there are also available features in the bundle. And firstly, we want to look at the Q Developer, first of all, in the console. So let's take a look at it.
Yeah.
So in the settings, and I want to talk through a few of the features that's available. So Amazon Q is available in the IDE, so which is the integrated user experience. That's going to be the main part of our demos today. It's also available in the console. How exciting is that?
Yeah, and even in the mobile app. For the console, I did find out recently.
I actually haven't tried yet.
Yeah, I know some people are diehards. It's really good if you want to check your billing on the go. I imagine someone just in the middle of a run, jogging, stopping, checking.
I have seen customer ask, like, oh, can we check the console in the mobile app? I was like, oh, yeah, but I don't know why I want to. Yeah.
They're just on the go.
Why do you want to do that on the go? Yeah. Whatever brings you the easiest way to check. So a few features that's available on the Q Developer. And I want to take you through a dashboard. So dashboard comes in really handy. Currently, I don't have much data, but I want to go through like user activity that you can see using the Q Developer. Also the impact. So once I've run the demo on the Q Developer, I will be able to see the impact of like the code that generated.
Yeah.
Like how much percentage of the code generated used in my code base.
Because this is the thing, like we talk about it being for developer experience. This is a way you can monitor what that experience is actually like. So is everything getting used? How's it getting accepted? Things like that.
Like how much percentage do I use, or do I actually write the code, or do I reference to a generated code? So that's in the console. Now we're going to jump into a IDE. So I'm using the VS Code.
Yes.
As you can see, it's an empty directory. We don't have anything in it. And first thing first is we use the AWS Toolkit to start integrated with a Q Developer.
Yeah, so it's super easy to download in your IDE of choice. You just look up the toolkit.
Absolutely. So, oops. I lost my mouse.
Totally fine. Just a preemptive question we'll get in the chat. Is it only in VS Code? No, it is not. So it's in your, I always say it's in your favorite IDEs, but it's in VS Code, Visual Studio, as well as the IntelliJ family from JetBrains family of IDEs.
So whatever your flavor is, your favorite IDE, you should be able to use that.
Yes.
And then you have to authenticate, and there are two options. You can use the Builder ID, or you can also use the single sign-on SSO way to authenticate it.
Yeah.
But I'm using the Builder ID here. And once I install the Q extension using the AWS Toolkit, there is a Q that's available. Now I can start chatting with the Amazon within the IDE.
This is where the magic happens.
This is where the magic happens. So the first thing I ask to Q is, what is the easiest way to create a serverless application on AWS, and where do I get started? So like, it's one of those questions, you know, like there are so many ways to build
Can versus
serverless
should.
applications.
Yes.
So what is the easiest way? So let's see what it comes back.
It's thinking, so am I.
It's a tricky question because there are multiple ways that you can build.
Right, but the answer is right where you're working. This is one of my favorite things about using in the IDE. I hate having tabs open. I hate having different things on my screen. Having it in just one pane is a delight.
It's very handy. So now there are a few steps, like 6 steps actually. And Q is telling me to start using the SAM, which is the serverless application mapper, to use. So I'm going back to my terminal and check, have I got SAM installed?
Right.
Looks like I have SAM installed. I know that I have AWS credential configured, so I'm going to skip the step 2. And step 3, we're going to initialize SAM applications just using SAM init. So I'm just following the guideline from my Q buddy.
Right, and because it's guidelines, it's actually stepping it out for you. It's one of those things, like, it's not just giving you a wall of text, like it's saying these are the actual steps, which doesn't seem like a lot until you start really using it, and then it's so handy because you miss when you don't have it.
Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to use the quick start template. So that's basically all the templates, the boilerplate code has been already written. And like I said, I'm going to use a serverless API. So let's build a serverless API with Q.
Perfect.
So, and my favorite programming language, Node.js.
Do we have any Node.js fans in the house? Please let us know in the comments. I know people,
is it
Node in the building, right over with Derek.
I am a Node.js fan. Thank you for choosing
I thought you're
Node.js.
a .NET.
I do that as well. And TypeScript.
TypeScript.
Java.
All of the above.
All of
like
the
a trail
above.
mix.
Absolutely. So now we have got a few other questions where, you know, the logins and a few of the questions, but I'm just going to keep it simple because I want to show how you actually build it. So let's keep it simple and start building out those boilerplate code. And I'm going to name a project with, let's say, SAM and Q demo. Let's do that. All right. So that means that all the project boilerplate code has been generated. I'm still following the queue. What I want to do, I want to check what folders or what file has been generated. And as you can see on the step 4, Q is saying to build your app, initialize the projects and then go and check out the template YAML. So that's what I'm going to do and go and check out a few of the project directory.
For sure.
All right. So it comes in really handy, right? So like most of the stuff that I have to be written, that's already generated.
Yeah, no, definitely. And for everyone tuning in, you are here with Build on Live Generative AI Edition. We are looking at Amazon Q Developer in the IDE, and we are building a simple serverless app.
Absolutely.
Easy peasy.
So now we have looked at a few files. We have a function. It also gave out like really good examples of like, you know, like how to write a function.
Right.
Like, this is the functions that go to DynamoDB and grabbing like the data from the DynamoDB. So this is a search or get function. We also have a few other functions, but I'm not going to go details. But what I want to do is because this is the generated code. I want to send it to Q. And ask what it actually does.
Right. Yeah. This is the other thing about having Q Developer in the IDE. You can highlight your code. Look, it's happening. You can send to Amazon Q. There's things you can do. So this one's explain, but it means you're not copy pasting between things. It's all happening in the one screen, which is so nice. So what's it doing over here?
So, so I asked Q, what does this code do? So it comes in really handy. Sometimes, you know, I'm changing from project to project.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have a context about the project that I'm working on or the new project that I'm going to work on. So I can grab that piece of code, send it to Q, and tell, hey, could you explain what it does? And basically now this Q is going through each line and going through, oh, this is the function for the Lambda function. This is the request that we're going to send it to the DynamoDB.
Yeah.
So in the natural language. So without actually having to go through the code.
sure.
So that comes in quite handy.
Yeah, especially if you're someone who maybe does late night side projects and forgets to put any comments in their code, and then needs to come and reconstruct everything in the cold daylight of the following day to figure out what's happening. So it's not just like reading the comments of your code, it is understanding the intent of what past Brooke was trying to do, for example.
Absolutely. So it gives you context. It gives you like understanding of, okay, what's going on in this code base. And also it can help us to give us some ideas as we're writing code.
For sure.
So, all right. So it goes through each line of code in this function and then explain that. What I want to do is I want to move on to the next demo.
Perfect.
And the next demo is a little bit different. So here we're going to ask you to generate a code within that, within the IDE actually. So we gave a comment saying, write a function to upload a file to S3.
Yeah.
Let's see what's come back with. All right, it's
Thinking
generating.
So am I. Oh, look at this. So now it's not just a single line of code, it's giving you that full block there.
It's a full block of code and going through all of them, a nice comment, which I don't usually do. I should do more.
It models the behavior. You know, it's like telling you how you should live. Yeah, that's the thing. And I was talking about this at a conference yesterday. It's not just if you're a developer doing this, but if you're a manager and you want to, you know, give your team the best practices, especially if you're working with lots of early career people or juniors and you want to teach them the right ways to be doing things. Stuff like this is really handy because it will force you to be nice with your comments. It'll force you to be a good communicator.
Also, like, it helps others and also help myself. 6 months down the line, I come back. I'm like, who wrote this code with no comment? All right, so Q generated the code base. And as we say best practices, I want to make sure, because we're passing the file name here.
Right.
I want to validate this file name. Just make sure that it is the valid file name. So I put a comment in the IDE saying, write a function to check if the input is null or undefined.
Perfect.
And I also say, if the input is string, trims any leading or trailing white spaces. So just making sure that the file name is correct. So, and let's see what's generated. Cool.
So you've got a whole block there. And then you're going through some options, it looks like, even actually.
Yeah. So now what I can do is I can just check that, okay, that looks a validation function. I'm going to pass it on to the original file name and check the file name if it is before we pass it on. So there you go. We have got a full block of functions that is generated by the Q developer.
Perfect.
And next, what I want to do is, well, when we write a code, it is not just, writing a function. We also need to write a test.
Right. And so, it's not only writing the test, it's writing enough tests and writing the correct tests. So
we're going to ask Q to write a test file. Actually, it's a wrong file name. I'm going to fix that.
Not for long. Yeah.
It's a put item.mjs file. And write a unit test for these functions that we just created and pass it on to Q.
Yeah. I think even if developers only used Amazon Q Developer to write their unit tests, they would get value out of it.
Yeah.
I know that there's obviously lots of other things we can do, which we've been showing, but I do not know anyone that loves writing unit tests. I'm sure if you're out there, you'll be letting me know in the chat. I know some people do like it, but for a lot of people, that's not what they're excited about when they're in the IDE. So it's stuff like this that can help you do it.
So it's a number of number of like scenario, like positive, negative, all these like edge cases that might be covered. All that. Also, best practices of like how the name should be structured, how the test should be structured. So that comes in very handy. All right. Yeah. The last part of the demo. So this is exciting. I want to show a development feature from Amazon Q Developer.
Perfect.
So have you tried the development features?
I have so much. So if you go on YouTube, the official launch video is my voice, which was blissful for me because I love having Australian accents on official AWS things. It's just deeply joyful for me. I get to say data instead of data sometimes, which is really nice. So I have done a lot with Q Developer, but I'm always excited to see what people build with it.
Well, you can tell me what you think of my demo. So I'm using the Q developer feature. It's like completely when I want to create a new feature or a new function within the project.
Yeah.
It can also read through understand the context of the project.
Yeah.
So here I'm passing a little bit more complex prompting.
Yeah.
So I say slash dev.
That's the important part there.
Yes. And I'm saying like a simple search function to search by category in a DynamoDB and then count the number of responses.
For sure.
And if the response is higher than or equal to 1, give a HTTP 200 code. Otherwise, we pass on the string and then return back the HTTP code.
For sure.
So because it's create a plan, it's like end-to-end plan of how you create that feature. So it may take a few minutes.
Yeah.
And let's have a look.
Well, it's interesting as well because I think when we'll get to the plan, but I was talking about this in the conference yesterday as well, even for a lot of developers, just seeing that plan, even if they don't get it to actually generate the code, having a full stepped-up process is really nice to make sure you're doing everything. And because in the plan, I already know it's going to have the tests in there.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that won't let you forget those important features when you are me doing a weirdo side project and you just want to get to the cool end result instead of doing all of the important
It comes in really handy because I was thinking back when I was a developer.
Yeah.
And when we do the task, we have to estimate how long it takes for the task to do.
And every developer gets this wrong by a factor of 5.
I know that, right? So I'll be saying like 2 days or 4 days. But then with the plan, I can kind of see like, okay, I need to do these little steps.
Yeah.
It might take a bit longer. It's a little bit more complex.
Yes.
So as you can see here, it starts talking through, update the template YAML, and create a new file, create a new test cases, a new function. And it also gave an idea of like how you should be testing. So that comes in really handy of like, for example, if I'm not familiar with the project, and then it say, create a new test case in this folder, and here are the test cases that you should look at it based on that category that you have.
Yeah, because it's not just going to update the one file, this one that you have open. If you've got a whole repo, it's going to update across the files in the repo to get to the outcome that you want. So especially with things like testing, it will often pull those out to logically separate them, which is really nice.
Absolutely. And you can also ask to generate a code. So in the beginning, it was just like, okay, this is the plan. And Q asked like, oh, do you want to generate a code? So I was like, okay, let's do that. Let's insert the whole code base. And there you go. Yeah. So you can see like get by category. This is completely new file. It's completely like generated from Q, from the plan. So we looked at the plan. We know what's going to be. And I just like fact check. Okay, is it right? Is it the right table name? Does it do what I ask you to do? Which is basically, if there's more than one responses, come back with HTTP response. Or if not, pass on the string.
Yeah.
So it comes in quite handy for me as I'm developing a new feature.
For sure. One of my favorite secret menu items, actually, we glossed past it, but there was a button that you could give it feedback to generate code again. So if it doesn't do everything you want, or this happens to me, I think of something else I wanted to add to my request, instead of starting again and doing a whole new thing, you can just give it feedback and then it will change what it's given you and update it. So I do this often if I want to add a really specific test case for something that's like important to the domain I'm working with, or I've thought of another feature I want to add, or different ways to break things up. You don't have to start from scratch again. You can look at the code diff, you can see your code side by side from the plan and then from what it's generated, and then you don't have to just take it or leave it. You can change it and work with it. Like I think that's
really, I think that I love that use case. And like also like you can see side by side, that comes in handy, right? Because like you just like compare what's have changed. And it also create test cases for that. So there you go. So all the prompting that I asked, and it's create the test cases to pass it on. So it's very interesting. Maybe I write maybe 2 lines of code in that case, the whole function. And but there you go. This is the end of the demo.
But you're not just like taking it and seeing. You're seeing the whole process, how it's made. You're making choices along the way, and I think that's really important. It's not just taking it or leave it. Like I said, you really can be interactive with it. Yeah. Speaking of interactive, Derek and Mike, have there been any questions that you have as part of this?
Yes. Thanks, Brooke. There's been lots of interactivity in the AWS LinkedIn channel and the AWS Developers YouTube channel already. A few people having trouble with the stream, so If you're having problems in one channel, maybe try the other one.
Yeah. So that's the Amazon Web Services AWS LinkedIn channel that we're looking at, because there are, as I know, a lot of AWS channels. That is the place to go.
Yep. If you can't get on there, AWS Developers YouTube channel.
Perfect.
So some questions, some great feedback about you two, about the ability of Q to teach juniors and to generate code for them and help them along their coding journey. One question was around confusion about what's the difference between Code Whisperer and a Q developer.
Yeah, great question. This is even one of the FAQs on the website, I think.
Is it? Oh, wow.
Yeah. No, because one of the things, Mike would have some other points on this as well, but one of the things is we used to have Code Whisperer, and then there's been sort of this gradual change because it's been 10 years since November. I was on stage at reInvent in November announcing features for Code Whisperer. And then since then, obviously 10 years has passed, so lots of things have changed, and it's rolled up into Amazon Q Developer. Mike, do you have any other points on how it's changed or where people might find those features and functionality?
Hey, nice throw over to me. Hi, how is everybody? Look, so Amazon Q is huge, right? So it's recently just gone huge, and so it's really just expanded out. As you say, Code Whisperer, I was using it in the early days, and really enjoying how it was like giving me just the excuse to be able to make all kinds of things. I just prompt it and saying, you know what, I want to make an autonomous newsreader that can just go and grab the latest headline from this RSS feed and then just go and use Amazon Polly to do, and all this stuff that I was doing with it. Q is just even so much more deeper than that. My favorite thing about Q in Q Developer inside of the IDE, you can actually move the chat over to the right-hand side. And then you can have the chat always open there.
Is this something
and then you can have
changes?
the files open on the other side.
Yeah, it's like when you're driving on the opposite side of the road to different countries. Maybe I should change it so when I'm in Australia versus the US, like that's how I know what side I'm driving on. Maybe that will help me out.
I guess. But in all seriousness, like when I'm developing, I often want to refer back to the files that I have. So I mean, that's my natural mode. So begin switching between chat and files and chat and files, not so much. You can actually just move it onto the other side. And
That's the name of the game,
it's a productivity boost even with the tool itself.
Yeah, so this is developer experience. Like this is what we're talking about when we want to help you build the way that you want to build, just do it easier. Stuff like this, being able to move stuff around, get things named the way you want, set up your workspace the way you want, all comes into it.
Another question I'm getting is all around, what can Q do? What sort of languages can Q support? You mentioned a few. Is it all languages, or is there a way to find out quickly?
Yeah, there's an ever-growing list. If you go on the Amazon Q Developer website, it will list them out there. Additionally, you can see more about it in the AWS Toolkit when you download it for your favorite IDE, and you can see the full list of languages. But it's ever-growing, and probably even during the session today, another one will appear. But for sure, all of the favorites you know and love, and then others as well.
And COBOL as well. Yep.
Yeah, and then also, if you would ever like a specific language, tell us. So many features at AWS happen because people asked for them. And I know, like, even if you think back to Code Whisperer, people kept begging us for Rust. And then, shock horror, everyone, Rust came to Code Whisperer. So tell AWS, ask us if you want a new feature. This is what the feedback mechanisms that are in the product are for. We really do check them a lot. So if you really would love something, let us know. You never know.
Yep.
Sounds fantastic.
What's up next, everyone? If you've just joined us, we are here for Build on Live with Generative AI at AWS. What's up next in the program?
I don't know, who says that? So I guess it's me. I'm going to come up and talk to you about Amazon Bedrock as the second part of the developer experience.
Perfect. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, May.
Thank you for having me.
I'm sure we'll see if people have other questions for May. You can see them in the chat in the comments, and we can get to them as well. Thank you so much for joining us. And I think Mike is coming on over.
Yay.
Let's get banging on with Bedrock. That's how you know we're from Australia, but welcome back to Build on Live Generative AI. I'm here with Mike Chambers, Generative AI extraordinaire.
I think maybe if people in chat have got ideas for segues and for things that we can do to, please.
Very open to it.
Please help.
Very, very open to suggestions. Yes. So, Mike, you work a lot with generative AI. Can you introduce yourself to people who, for some reason, haven't heard you talking?
Where have you been? Yes, hello. My name is Mike Chambers. I'm a senior developer advocate for Amazon Web Services, and I specialize in generative AI, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
I had the extraordinarily privileged position of being able to just totally dive deep into generative AI last year.
Yeah.
And I haven't emerged yet.
No, I was going to say you must have been busy then.
Yes, yeah, no, it was good.
Yeah, because so much changes. Like, this is one of the things we just talked about with Q, how much it's changed since Code Whisperer, how much it's changed since November, how much it's still changing in the last few weeks. And Bedrock is another example of that. So if someone hasn't heard about Bedrock, how would you explain Bedrock to someone that's completely fresh?
Right,
has just come in. What's Bedrock? Why should they use it?
Yeah, okay. Well, so look, I mean, in the first part of this hour, we were looking at tools which you could use to actually enhance and get faster at your development of your own code. This is about using generative AI in your code to actually enhance the application that you've actually made. So I guess the way that this works is that you want to connect into foundation models. So the background and the behind the scenes of all generative AI is foundation models.
Right.
And now they're really big things, like massive things, like in billions and billions of parameters. Means that they are gigabytes and gigabytes in size.
Right.
And they also require a lot of compute to actually make them work.
Yeah.
These are the big ones, the ones that really are worthwhile for intelligent applications, if you like.
Right. So just to spell it out, like the Bedrock name, big foundation. So you can just build on top of something rather than having to do everything. Like if you think of building a skyscraper, how much work has to go in before it's at zero.
I've done that,
so much work.
myself, yeah.
Mike builds skyscrapers all the time. So think about like all that work is done for you, so then you can get in and build on top of it, which makes it a lot easier when you're building out a startup or you're working with all sorts of organizations.
Yeah, so if you've got an application that's inside of AWS already, this is a fantastic starting point. You want to then be able to add in some generative AI capability, then using something like Amazon Bedrock is going to help you get there really fast, because it's basically an API endpoint away.
For sure.
But there's a whole bunch of other things inside of it as well, which just means that there's a lot to talk about. So, maybe we should have a look at it. I've got Amazon Bedrock live on my screen.
Do you want to try a different cable?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Why don't you just try number 4?
Yes.
And then we'll press 4.
We can do that.
Or number 3.
Are we live by any chance?
Yeah.
It might be, yeah.
Has anyone ever tested in prod? Please let me know in the chat. I'm going to press 3 even.
Yeah, we should do that. I mean,
how about that?
My laptop
Does that
seems to
work?
think that it's connected to something, which is cool.
Testing in prod.
I think that there might be a cable come loose down there. That's what happened last time. I'm not pointing fingers.
We're on
but
prem.
Hey, yeah, we can see what's happening out there. Well, look, I mean, so Amazon Bedrock, inside of it, whilst we're waiting to see if we can get this working, we'll see what we can do. As we say, it's live, things happen. Inside of the service, we have a number of different foundation models. So Amazon Bedrock itself is not a foundation model. It's not a model that you would use. It's a service which contains lots of different models, right? So there's a catalog, essentially, of different large language models from different leading AI providers. So we have our own models in there from AWS, but we've also got models in there from the likes of Anthropic with the Claude 3 models, the ones that everyone's talking about. Mistral with Mistral AI. So we've got Mistral and their model called Mixtral, which is in there as well.
They are trolling me. Every time I make a video about it, they're trolling me. Speaking of videos, we are going to cut to a really quick video for reasons, and we will be right back with you momentarily. Let us know in the chat what you think we're doing. welcome back to Build on AWS Generative AI Edition.
Can I categorize what just happened there? It was exactly, I see this all the time.
Can you tell me by your interpretive dance what happened?
Well, let me just, no, what had happened was someone came up and touched it. They didn't do it, they just touched it, and then all of a sudden it's working again. It wasn't one of those things that like it needed to be rebooted or anything like that. It was just like, I am here now, and so my magic makes it work. Not me. Wonderful
One of my favorite memes is like tech support, and it says tech support, and then it just goes up to the server, and it's like, I really appreciate you, I value you, you're doing a great job, and everyone loves you. And then the little server's like happy bending to the side. My favorite tech meme of all time. And anyway, that's what happened during the break. We just had to tell, if we didn't tell things how appreciated they were, they wouldn't know. And that's what's important.
This is it. All right, so where were we? We were talking about Amazon Bedrock.
We were talking about Mistral and Mistral, and how they were trolling me because I had to say it in a very short video once, and it took me, normally I shoot all my videos in one take, but this one was a struggle.
Yes. Well, so, and also they should be said with the French accent.
Yes,
so
because it's le chat instead of chat.
And mixture. And large. So there's one called large, but it's not called large, it's called large.
So good.
Soft G. Anyway, we're getting way off topic. My laptop's now arrived, so we can see it, and I'm inside of the Amazon Bedrock console page, which is a place where I spend a lot of my time because I feel very comfortable here, and it means that we can get to see a little bit about what the service does. I mentioned before how it's not just large language models. There are other things in there. There are different kinds of models, and there are different kinds of services and things in here we can do as well.
So many features.
So I'm going to open up the menu on the left-hand side. You've seen a console page before, so there's nothing strange or new about this. By the way, regions. Let's just talk about regions just for a second, right?
Yeah.
We should talk about regions of the world. So we've got my region. I'm in Oregon at the moment, the region Oregon, and that's because Amazon Bedrock, as all of its services are available in Oregon, and you will know from using AWS services, they're not all available in all regions all the time, and these things are being slowly rolled out across the globe. So in the Sydney region, there are a bunch of models, but not all of them. So we do need to check to see what models are available.
Yeah. Think about it as a vacation. During COVID, when I was holed up inside my house, I would sometimes just go to a different region in AWS to tell myself I was in Paris or Mumbai. Or...
You okay? Okay.
It was a time. We made it through. But
so in the console page, if I scroll down to the bottom on the right-hand side, I'm just going to go down to the bottom rather than starting at the top. I'm going to go and click on Model Access. And if I do that, then I actually get to see what models are available inside of my account, inside of this region. And then I also get to see what models I have access to. So I haven't enabled access to every single one of the models yet because new models get launched all the time. It's really worthwhile checking back on this list from time to time to see what new things have happened and what new things are available.
So many.
So we've got models from AI21 Labs, Amazon ourselves, Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Mistral, and Stability AI. And so basically you come into here, this is the first port of call, is you come into here and you enable access in here. So these are third-party models provided by those third-party providers, apart from the Amazon one. And so there is an end-user license agreement that you just accept. If you want to go ahead and use that, you can do that here. But it's also a great place to be able to sort of review what is there.
There's so many that will get added to there. I'll come back after a weekend or something.
Yes, things get added all the time. And so you can often see Brooke on a short telling us about Mistral or the new model that's come out. Yes. All right, so that's the model access side of things. Maybe then let's talk about large language models. That's probably the primary type of model use case to talk about. That's where a lot of the business value and social value comes out of generative AI. It's the capability of these models to be able to generate text, but also to do other things like summarize text, do translation, also reasoning and problem solving and all that kind of stuff.
So what makes it a large language model is that the words are really long, the font size is huge. Just
pretty much that, So that's actually a really good question. I don't know if we have a definitive, like, at what point does a large language model not be large if we go too small? But the idea of it is that it is typically foundation models, and large language models are very large things. We're talking many gigabytes in size. We're talking many months of time for the lab that was creating it to actually make it.
Right. And so on this like can versus should thing we were talking about earlier, like you can train your own large language model on AWS.
Oh, for sure.
People do. Should you do it depends on who you are. So I would say for a lot of developers, you shouldn't, because it's going to be a lot more work and expense than you fully realized. But however, if you're working at a really specialized company, or if you look at these companies, they've all trained their own large language models. So I think some people think that to get into generative AI, they need to fully start from scratch and do all of this themselves, but that's not the case. You can build on what this is, which is what we're talking about with Bedrock.
Yeah,
and Foundation.
absolutely. Yeah, integrating with an API into one of these large models is probably the first place to go.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, there are other things you can do. Then if that doesn't work, there are other things you can do.
Yeah.
Creating a large language model is not a rainy weekend activity.
Right.
No, not for anybody. It's a huge endeavor. So yeah, I'll just scroll back to the top of the menu on the left-hand side here. It gets the overview and all that kind of stuff that you get in the console, so that you can see what's going on. This is kind of useful though. There's more to this than just it's just some logos on a page, right?
Yeah.
So if I come down to providers on the side here, then we have more logos. I get it. You can scroll between them, and if I just choose Anthropic here, for example, you do. If I scroll down, get to essentially what we call the model cards.
Yeah.
So we can see the details of each of the model, and you can see that I don't have them all enabled in my account at the moment. So if I'm clicking here on Claude 3 Haiku, I can read a little bit about the blurb. And so one of the key questions that I get asked a lot is, which model should I choose? Because there are so many of them.
Can versus should, again.
Right.
You know, it's like there's so many things I can choose, which one should I use? And the most frustrating answer in all of AI and machine learning, as a machine learning person, I say it all the time, is it depends. Because it honestly does depend. So Mike, what would it depend on if you're choosing your model?
Yeah, sure. So there's a number of things that are probably very, very easy to pick through, and then there are some that are a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
So I mentioned before that we're talking about large language models here. Mm-hmm. You've also got image generation models. There are also things like embeddings models. It comes down to the modality that you want. I love that term, and I thank generative AI as an area for bringing this into my life more and more. The term modality. What mode do you want for both the input and the output?
Right.
From the
So
model?
the modality means what data is. So when we're talking about the input, so the modality of a large language model will be text. It's a text model.
Yes.
Things like that. Whereas like an image generation model that's making an image has different modality.
Yeah, so and some are multimodal as well. So the
Right.
models that we have, for example, with the Anthropic Claude 3 models can take as an input either text or image or both.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot you can do that. So modality going in, modality coming out. Now, Brooke, over in the corner of the studio, Derek's waving away, and he either wants me to stop talking
He's
or
just
he's got a
happy over
question.
there in the question corner.
Question corner.
Even
Yes,
posted.
yes, you too. I'm just trying to interrupt you because we've got some great questions coming in
Okay.
on the chat. So this one is from Priyanka. Sorry, Priyanka, if I've mispronounced your
Priyanka?
name on LinkedIn. Yes, asking, how do we put checks and balances on the compute usage? So you were talking about how the more LLMs use compute and how you can use a lot of compute in building these out. How do you put checks and balances on it? Excellent question, by the way.
Yes, no, thank you for that. So checks and balances on the compute. Okay, so it's a good question. If you're doing stuff and you're actually hosting your own large language models, or if you're training your own in something like SageMaker, then you can see the compute which is being used. And so you could monitor for that and you can figure it out. Broadly speaking, let's just cut to the chase. The compute usage, the energy usage, and the environmental impact, if that's the kind of thing that we're talking about, you can get a really good barometer of what that is by looking at the cost. Because basically, the cost, the power and the cooling and the actual infrastructure it's running on, it all bubbles up to that one number there. So everyone's pretty comfortable with looking at cost as a metric. So if you're training your own and you've got your own infrastructure, then you can keep an eye on that. In relation to Amazon Bedrock, it's a little bit different because the cost predominantly for an on-demand usage is on a per token basis.
What's a token, Mike?
Fantastic question. So a token, essentially, if you're looking at the generation coming out of these models, you often see them streaming data across, and it's like it's typing it out. That's not a graphical effect, something that the developer did for fun, although they might have done. It's also, those are the tokens. Those are the things which are being generated by the large language model in real time. And a token basically equates to a word that's been generated. It actually might be a partial word, so it might be a part of a more complex word. So when we're pricing out something like Amazon Bedrock, you do it based on the number of tokens, partial words that are going in, and the number of tokens, partial words that are coming out.
Yeah. And just on this question as well, one thing, there's so many things that when you're thinking about generative AI, you really have to change how you're thinking, but other things really stay the same. Like anytime you're doing anything in an AWS account, look at your cost management. You know,
anytime you're doing anything anywhere in life, you should look at cost management.
Right.
But yes.
So don't throw all of your good, well-architected framework ideas out the window for cost optimization and things like that. Always look at what you're doing in terms of monitoring. There's so many different monitoring things we can go through, but it's smart and sensible to always be thinking about your cost regardless of what you're building on AWS, because this is going to help you to build the things that you want.
Yeah, and look, and so you've got the view pricing link here, so you can go off to the pricing page. You can look at the different pricing per token in the region that you're working in. Sure. But let me show you a bit more about how you can actually find out about the number of tokens that you're working with. As we do that, I'll just finish up the point from before, and that's in relation to the model choice.
Yeah.
Yes, we have all of those models to choose from. You can go through those model cards that we were looking at before.
Yeah.
You can see which ones sort of align to the kinds of things that you're doing, and you can see the ones which align to the modalities you're using. So if it's a text thing or if it's an image thing, something like that. That's a great place to start. Then it starts to get a little bit more complex and deep, and it turns really into experimentation at that point.
Right.
And you need to experiment with your prompt and what you're putting in as much as the model that you're using.
Definitely.
So I've come down, talking of experimentation, I've come down on the left-hand side to playgrounds. Now, I really like this area. I think a lot of people think that this is an area of the console page that was put in just for me, just so that I get to demo
I use the playground,
how these
honestly, it's
look.
like my most visited page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there's 3 different playgrounds we've got here. So we've got a text playground, a chat playground, and an image playground. And I'd like to look at them in that order, even though they are slightly different in the actual menu on the left-hand side. So the first one is the text playground.
Yeah.
Super straightforward and simple. And it basically is the closest thing that will mimic what you're actually doing with the API when you come to actually use it. And we can talk about how to do that in the API. Yes, we're doing stuff in the console. Experimentation with prompts, it's really the first part of the developer journey. And so actually having to code something yourself to do that is it's an overhead which you don't necessarily need, and you can come straight here.
And if you've been using various chat models to work with AI and you'd like to think, oh, okay, I've got this, I knew how to use this in the user experience, how can I actually put this into my Apple project? This is that missing link you've probably missed out on, because it's going to show you how to go from, instead of just the chat, to being able to getting it working.
Absolutely. So here we are. I'm selecting a model that I want for my text playground, and I honestly had no idea what I was going to select prior to coming to this menu. But I've gone to Mistral AI because that was what we were talking about before, and I'm going for the Mixtral. It's not Mistral, it's Mixtral 8x7b instruct model. And if anybody wants to put in a chat why it's called that, we'll see what you say.
Oh,
Brooke, we got the waving Derek.
Derek.
Yeah, me again. Follow-up question on cost. It seems to be a theme. How does modality impact cost?
Yes. That's from an Amazon Bedrock perspective. That's all going to come down to the pricing page. We're going to have to look at it. I'm going to be off the top of my head what the token count is for an image. I'm not entirely sure. So it's a good question.
But it's something as well that can change based on what you're building. So there's never going to be a single answer for this, because like what type of image data do you have coming in? What resolution do you need from that image data to get your result that you need? How does that resolution change the tokenization process? This is something that, when we talk about experimentation being a big part of this, that's why these playgrounds exist.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
So you can get things working, and then you can get a really thorough understanding of what you're getting into.
Yeah.
There's not going to be a single cut and dry answer, especially as we're working across so many different modalities and models and regions.
But let's dive deep a little bit on tokens and where we can see some stuff about tokens. And so because it's a really important factor, right? And it's another question we get quite a lot. I get quite a lot. Is like, well, if you're charging me per tokens, how do I actually get to see what a token is? Great question, and so let's do that. So I'll breeze through this particular part of the test, but we have started here. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply, and guess what? It's exactly what you might imagine. I can type a prompt here and get a response back. And you think this would be a really great time for me to copy and paste something that I had from elsewhere, rather than live typing and spelling.
What about the mayonnaise recipe,
We can do that, yes.
I, for one, am interested in it giving a mayonnaise recipe, because this is a French model, so will it be French?
Well, we're gonna type that.
Will it be a French recipe? Maybe it's really good at like French cookery. Who knows?
I'm going to ask what is the capital city of Australia, just as a super simple thing.
Yes.
Australia. How did I do?
Great job.
Because, as you do, we do a lot of live streams all over the world, and you'd be surprised how many people don't know the answer to this. But anyway, I'm sure that Mixtral does. But yeah, anyway, you can see here, and we can see the streaming response coming back, and it's right here. And look at what it's done. This is super, super interesting. If I scroll back to the top, it has answered the question, but because this is basically, it's almost as raw as you can get, connecting into the large language model.
Right.
And so look what it's done. It's actually gone and said, okay, well, what is the answer? What's capital Australia? It's Canberra, which, by the way, is correct. And then it's going, well, okay, well, what's the capital city of Brazil? What's the capital city of Canada, China, France, and on it goes. It's just generating tokens. This is raw access to these really powerful models. So you basically get to develop in your code exactly what you want out from this model. Right. Now, I'm not going to forget that we're going to do mayonnaise recipe. So let's have a go at doing that. So there are these pre-canned ones inside of the console here.
Yeah.
And so if I click on that, something actually quite interesting happens, which honestly, I'm feeling a little bit bad that I didn't do this with my original question. You notice in here that it's actually pre-populated the prompt with the particular syntax and format that is appropriate for this model.
Yeah.
Now you saw before that when I typed in the question, what is the capital city of Australia, it did actually get it right, and it spewed out a bunch of other stuff as well. But this is technically the right syntax to do that. So we have this open brackets S, this inst for the instruction part. There's a lot of detail, there's a lot of nuance here. I actually do have an article on community.aws which breaks this down in probably too much detail. So I will try to get a link to that at some point.
Yes.
But again, you can experiment with it in here and you can do this. Anyway, we are not any closer to knowing how to make mayonnaise. Let me click run on that. And it says, yes. Do you want to read this out in a French accent? That's probably not a good idea.
No, I will offend someone on stream. But one thing I will say is a question I get so often is I'm used to working in whatever generative model. How can I change my prompt to be suitable for different models that I'm working with? And that's why these example prompts are really helpful, because they're going to tell you exactly this is the best way to talk to it. And so looking at those, this will give you more of a feel about what the models are doing and how you can get the best results out of them by looking at these little tags and things they have.
Absolutely. I'm switching over now to get to the chat playground. There's a few things that I want to talk about with this. I'm going to go ahead and select just a different model. I'm selecting Claude 3 Haiku. This is a very capable model. It's also very fast, so it's kind of good for chat.
There's 3 models in the Claude 3 family from Anthropic, and so if you think about them sort of in a line, Haiku is cheap and fast. Opus.
Cost effective and fast, yes.
Well, yes. Opus is more expensive, but much more knowledgeable and takes a little bit longer. So the Sonnet one is in the middle.
Sonnet is in the middle, yeah.
So it's like, I call it Goldilocks zone, but the porridge is just right.
Yeah, look, and this is the thing. Like, it's not just about what model can you afford. It's like, as you suggested and as you said there, Haiku is much faster.
Yeah.
And there's demos that we're going to do later on as well, where we've got Haiku in some parts of it and Sonnet in another part of it. And you use the one which is appropriate for your particular use case. And speed might be your use case.
Yeah.
So Haiku might be the one to go for there. And so I'm here inside the chat playground. Now the difference here is obviously we're in a chat session here. So before we were just sending in a prompt into the model and saying just go generate some output. Here we are storing in memory the conversation as we head through. Now I'll just put something simple in here. So what
are the examples say?
Well, we could use the examples. I was going to say, like, someone could just challenge me to write something. I'm kind of super zoomed in here, so it's a bit difficult to see.
This is the thing. When we zoom in for these streams, maybe if you close the sidebar, you get more real estate. Like this.
I wanted to look at that too, but yes, it's
other sidebar.
The other sidebar.
Go up to the top,
Unfortunately, we can't scroll up that anymore. I mean, I could do that, but it's still not. So fun with the console. But let's type in a random question then. So what is Derek, I'm throwing over to you.
Sorry.
What's a question? I'm throwing it back to you. Give me a question that we can give to Haiku.
Okay.
Brainstorm this with me.
So we talked earlier. What is the favourite food for people from Belfast?
I regretted asking you the moment you looked up from your keyboard.
Yes.
That will teach you.
For people from Belfast, Okay.
But incidentally, I'm from.
Which you're from. So that makes it okay.
Giving a very respectful answer, which is not maybe what Derek
Okay.
had.
Interesting.
And obviously your prompt engineering probably should be, yes. I'm sorry, Derek, that wasn't fair. But we've got an answer for you here. So Ulster fry,
Oh, delicious.
yes.
Yes.
A
Strong
pasty.
reviews.
Yes.
Pasty.
Oh, pasties are so good.
Basically anything that will reduce the size of your arteries.
Yes.
Yep.
There's a lot of beige here. Soda bread,
I will
Irish
not
stew,
accept
fish
any
and
beige
chips.
food negativity. I
No,
love
no.
beige food.
Sorry, there's a lot of beige here. All right, anyway, so we've got an answer coming out here. And we could follow up this and we could say, tell me more. So yeah, a weird follow-up, but basically I'm saying tell me more. It's going to do that in relation to the conversation which has just happened. It's a chatbot. You get it. You've seen this before.
Sure.
So it's saying, okay, I'll tell you more. Now, what's happening underneath here, and this is why I wanted to get here, I'm coming back to tokens, is if we get down here to model metrics. So this is actually, so model evaluation is something which is, it's a big deal, it's a big thing, it's actually a little complex, but this is the first port of call. So we have these model metrics down here, we've got the latency of the response. So this is how long it's taken for the entire generation to come back.
Right.
Now you notice that you have the token start streaming out. So if you're doing an application where you are having a user who is in the user interface and wants to see that stuff coming out, then you might want to stream that data back straight away.
Sure.
Other things, behind the scenes, batch processing, that kind of stuff, you might just wait for the entire generation. So that's the latency. We've got the input token count there. We've got the output token count there. You can start to experiment. You can start to see how all that works. The other thing, and again, just to go back to tokens, is if we scroll down to the bottom and go to settings, and I've not done that for this account. I have done this for this account. I don't know if I've done it or not. You can actually set up more in-depth logging. So you can get things like CloudWatch metrics of the tokens and the token usage, and you can also get CloudWatch logs of all of the requests that you've sent in, and you get the generations that come back from it as well.
Yeah, definitely. And all of this is why, like earlier when I was saying, people asking how do they go from using a chatbot LLM to incorporating it in their apps, all of these settings, and then looking at the token counts, looking at those other criteria that we were just checking out, things like that are going to help you pull back the curtain so you can make really informed choices with what you're doing later on.
Yeah, cool.
Do we have any questions coming in, Derek, from the chat as we start to wrap up this segment?
As we wrap up, I'd like to highlight that someone in the chat actually noticed the Game Boy. And
Which
it's
Game
a very
Boy?
special Game Boy. It's
'Cause
the
there's several.
brown
There's the
Game
wooden
Boy.
one.
The wooden one.
Yeah,
yes.
it
Don't know if I dare
is
touch it.
wooden.
Yes.
So when I came into the studio this morning, I was like, wow, I need one.
You were
so
like,
I'll
what?
be leaving with that brown Game Boy.
Wow.
So
I will be
that's-
checking Derek's pockets before release, personally.
That's probably all we've had. A lot of questions around modality, around costs, around how to automatically stop costs from increasing.
Right.
And Suman has jumped in and talked about limits.
Thanks, Suman.
And helping there on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, anybody else there, we are live. I am
Right.
Derek. I am in the chat. And we'll all be in the chat at some stage
Yes.
helping out. So please fire those questions in.
Yeah, just goes back to what I was saying earlier about, like, don't lose all of your cloud architecture skills just because you're working with AI now. There's some, like, cost optimization is a universal thing you need to think about in the cloud. That's why it's in the well-architected framework. Yeah,
Yes.
as well as security, another big point.
Absolutely. May I bullet point without going
Yes,
into them?
I would love
just
that.
The things that, if I could spend the rest of the stream talking about Amazon Bedrock, I would.
Perfect.
I want to mention the image generation playground.
Yeah.
Image generation is there. I want to mention guardrails. So guardrails is a tool that we have that you can actually wrap over the top of the invocations you're making to the large language models to have some guardrails around the sensitivity, profanity, checking to make sure that people aren't talking about competitors' products with your chatbot, all that kind of stuff. And then just really briefly, because I guess it's somewhat of a segue to the rest of the show, we have knowledge bases for retrieval augmented generation and agents, which is mostly about playing Minecraft.
I forgot about one question. Sorry.
Go for it.
I had a Derek moment. There was a question from SciCat asking about inside Bedrock, are there any multimodal capabilities?
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. And it depends what kind of multimodal you want. So we've got, so Anthropic's models are in there. So the Anthropic Claude 3 models are in there. So all three of the ones that Brooke was talking about before, they are multimodal input, text, output.
Yeah.
So you can send images and text in. A great demo, and you can even do this in the chat playground. I think it's a chat playground. You can actually upload, for example, into one of those models. See how there's an image upload button there?
Yeah.
You can upload an image and then you can ask a question about it. That's
really cool with
multimodal.
charts and graphs and things like that. Like upload it, then you can ask some questions about it. Things like that will help you get more of an understanding about what's going on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Then the other part to this as well is we've got embeddings models inside of Amazon Bedrock 2. Now, embeddings models aren't technically large language models, but they're sort of in the same kind of family. We'll talk more about them in the next section. We have got multimodal embeddings models in there as well. So we've got different modalities, some multimodal and embeddings multimodal as well.
Cool.
I knew it was a great question. Sorry for not answering it earlier.
That's all right. No, I appreciate the question.
Well, speaking of the next section, it's up next, and we are going to be cutting to retrieval augmented generation. Stay tuned for more Build on Live generative AI.
Hi, and welcome back to Build on Live, Gen AI Special Edition, beaming all the way from Sydney. So Brooke is now in Question Corner, and I'm Derek, and I'll be leading you through the next hour. Wow.
Yes. I wasn't allowed to go back to my desk. I have to stay here.
Okay, you will stay there.
Yes, I'm staying here.
So if you just joined us, we are live on the AWS Developers YouTube channel, and we're also live on the AWS LinkedIn channel. So please interact and ask us questions. If you watched the last session, you'll know that we do ask those questions, even if they're about food from Belfast.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I won't live that down.
So this is session 2. So this is the second session where we're going to talk about retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. So, Mike.
Yes.
How will we start this session?
Look, I think let's sort of backpedal a little bit. Let's talk about last year and what that was like, right? So a lot of people experimenting with large language models like that. It was the year of the experimentation of the notebooks of like, look what I can do. And right back at the beginning, a lot of people having a lot of fun with asking large language models questions that they didn't know the answers to.
Like?
So, yes, like, who's Mike Chambers? And it goes, I don't know. No, and it would make something, initially it would make something up, and it said all kinds of stuff about me.
Yeah. Very nice, I'm sure.
Some of them.
My favourite was a good friend of ours. We'd always ask it, how do you make Singapore laksa?
Okay.
Yeah, which...
They didn't know?
Delicious.
Oh, right.
Absolutely delicious. I'm sure he made it.
Okay, all right. But it was a hallucinated answer, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hallucinations was the thing. And a lot of people like to talk about that. Now, it has to be said that...
Hold on, are we going to talk about what a hallucination is for people who don't know?
Which is what we would... So
we're about to go there.
So, well, I guess it's what we were just describing, of where you're asking a large language model a question and it doesn't know the answer. Yeah. But it still comes back with an answer. Right. Yes, that's what a hallucination is.
Excellent.
And I guess that's probably gotten into the common conversation about large language models. Now, I have to say that over the last 6 months or so, and with a lot of the newer models that come out, they do this a lot less.
Yep.
So you can ask a question, you can say, hey, who is Mike Chambers, for example, and the answer comes back is, I don't know who Mike Chambers is. Like, rather than making something up.
You really confused me, because I thought all large language models would know who you are because you are a Gen AI person, and that completely threw me.
I am campaigning for this. This is very much like my campaign with recognition. When recognition came out and it had the famous person detector,
yes.
But it didn't work for me. So what's the point in that?
Rude.
Yeah. Start
a petition.
All right. So maybe I should ask it a different question. But you can ask questions. Think about it from the point of view of asking it about something which it didn't have any information on that when it was originally training. Yep. What would happen is that the models would hallucinate. They would come out with an answer that seems like it might have been right, and then all of a sudden you lose trust. And especially like business folk look at it and go, I don't know what's going on here. Now the models are much better.
Which, to be fair, is fairly standard with business folk.
Losing trust. And saying, I don't know what's going on here. Fair point.
I'm sorry, business folk are watching.
So we just lost a whole section of our viewers.
Speaking of our viewers, I have a question from the viewers that I would love to pull up on screen. The magic works, yes. Okay, so are there any ways to learn about these models on Bedrock? Mike has published a lot of them. It won't let me reply to your comment on LinkedIn, but community.aws, there's a tag for Bedrock where lots of things are. Do you guys have any other?
Yeah, look,
I just asked Mike.
So if I've already got community.aws open as a tab. Of course I have. Community.aws/generative AI. There's a whole host of great articles here. I'm hoping that if I scroll down on the side here, there's a couple of things here. Brooke, there's your article. We've got generative AI with large language models as a course there, which I helped put together. There is another course which I want to sort of tell you about, which is also on deep learning AI, which actually helps you to be able to experiment around with specifically Amazon Bedrock. So deep learning AI, great friends of ours, and they have a bunch of short courses on there, completely free. So look for the short course section, and we have an Amazon Bedrock course in there. You have a free environment to play around with Amazon Bedrock, make some serverless applications.
What? Serverless applications?
Serverless applications.
We talked yesterday at Serverless Days.
We did.
It was fun.
I should have told them about that, of course, shouldn't I? That would be a good
context.
idea. Yes.
Well, maybe we'll talk about context as well during today.
Sure. Where were we? So
we were talking about how LLMs are dumb.
So there's definitely things they don't know about, and they don't know about things that what the information wasn't available when it trained. What are the solutions for this? What's this section about? It's about retrieval augmented generation, RAG. So that's one of the solutions for this.
Yep.
So it's giving a large language model application, an application powered by a large language model, access to authoritative data is the way I like to say it.
Right. Yep.
So you could ask a large language model, and you see this all the time on the internet, like who is the president of whatever country, basically trying to trick it up because it had this date cut off. That's the thing for me. That's a fact. Like that is a known fact who a president, say for example, is of a country. What I want from a large language model is I want general world knowledge. I want the model to know that up is up, that down is down, the sky is blue, and how to interact with language. We want them to be experts at language. If there's a fact that's out there, then it's not necessarily the most cost-effective way to try and get that into the model. Plus, how do we know if it's hallucinated the answer? So we can give it access to an authoritative data source, and that's what retrieval augmented generation does.
And plus, we don't really want to change the LLM because we're talking about costs a lot.
Yes.
It's an expensive operation to actually change it to suit your needs.
Absolutely. No, that's right. That's what retrieval augmented generation is. Now. There's more nuance to this, of course, and we could talk about it for many hours. But let's
we have two left.
Yes, let's talk about high level then how it works. And there's a couple of ways we can do that. We could sort of figuratively talk about it. I could sort of show you in a bit of code.
Yeah, I like code. You know me.
We haven't gone into much code so far.
I like code.
We had a bit of code.
Is it in Python?
Yes. Sorry. Yes. Look, I am I'm not going to say I'm a convert over to TypeScript because of you, but
we're getting there. I'm working on you.
Q is helping me a lot. Okay. Let's get rid of my notifications. Can I do that thing? I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to highlight some code here in my notebook.
Yeah, I can see it here.
Yeah, I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go to Amazon. This is not part of the demo RAG, but I'm going to say...
I'm going to use Amazon Q.
Explain. Oh, I meant to say explain. Look, I have Q up on the right-hand side. That's all I wanted to say. So I can have my files up on one side and Q up on the other side. Yep. Power tip for you there. Anyway, we're not doing that. That's not what we're doing. Let's have a look at this code. So what I've got here, okay, so this is kind of a bit of fun. Please no one take this too seriously.
So this is a Jupyter notebook?
This is a Jupyter notebook, and it's because it's an easier way for me to be able to run through some code. And what I've done here is I've created the retrieval augmented generation architecture mostly by hand in this code. You would never put this into production, but it means that you can see how it works. And actually, retrieval augmented generation is not that hard. It's not that complex. So let's see how we go with this. Stop me if I'm going too fast.
Okay.
So
engage brain cells.
Buckled up.
So here we go. So we've got this Python code, as you can see. The first thing I'm doing is just loading some libraries. Broadly speaking, let's kind of ignore that. But I'm loading in Bodo 3, which is the SDK for AWS.
Indeed.
Again, don't do this code in production. This is just to demonstrate how this stuff works. I'm then going to get myself an endpoint to Amazon Bedrock. So we are using the Amazon Bedrock service for the heavy lifting part of the generative AI part. So I've got myself a client there. Right, now that all that's set up, let's talk about the use case that we have. And the use case that we have is we want to be able to ask the large language model application about some information that it didn't have at the time of training, and that is about this list of spells we have. So these are all my magic spells.
You mean it didn't know about spells when it was getting trained?
I'm going to tell you what, it didn't know about these spells because they may be completely made up, but there are some fun ones in here. There's some Easter eggs inside there as well. But so this is a list of spells. So
So are you asking people to pause and zoom?
No, there's no need. I mean, well, I'll show you them later. Basically, what this represents is the corpus of documents, the body of documents, the collection of documents that we have, which may be our own internal corporate information or whatever it is, or private to our application, that we want it to be able to answer. We want to chat with this, essentially, talk about this. One thing I need to do as I'm moving through here is I need to remember to run all the cells, otherwise this won't work. So there you go. So super simple. In a real RAG environment, this would be a whole bunch of PDFs or something, but this is our spells. All right, then we need to move down here. What we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a vector database. Now, this is in memory, inside this notebook. It's not enterprise scale, it's just small. We're using an open source library that we installed at the top called, I think it's Phase. It's an open source vector database. Now, let's talk about vector databases.
Yes, let's because not everybody's done mathematics.
No.
Are not familiar with vectors.
What a vector database is. And I hear comments over from Brooke, who very much has done mathematics and could take us incredibly deep.
Many maths.
Incredibly deep into this topic. Now, so when you connect your large language model application up to a data source, basically what it's going to do is it's going to retrieve text information back from that data source and use it in a little bit of prompt engineering. That's essentially what RAG is. Now, one of the most the popular, at the moment, ways of doing this is by storing your data in a vector database. Now, just a note for everybody, you don't have to do that. You could put it in a SQL database, you could have it in a text file, you could have it somewhere else, as long as you can search it.
What are the benefits?
The benefits of a vector database is that you get to be able to do language-based search of the data that's in here. So let's create one. So basically, I'm creating my defining my function here, which is going to help me to create the embeddings for this. So what happens is we take each of the documents, in this case the spells, and we're going to push it through this vectorization process. So we're going to convert these spells into a series of numbers. It's a one-way thing, so we're going to convert it into this vector, and this vector will represent in a multi-dimensional space the language of that sentence.
Yes.
So that's cool, and what it means that we can do is we can then search that vector space. If we have a question, we can encode that question in the same way and get the mathematics of the vector database to find an answer which is close to our question. Yes. So instead of saying select spells where like candles,
AWS serves quickly,
for example, that could have been the Easter egg. Thank you. Which would look for specific strings and that kind of stuff. This is far more fuzzy, right? And it's going to say, show me the things which are kind of like this thing. So it allows you to do that kind of semantic search.
Yes.
So we've got that saved here. I'm going to now create what I'm calling my, what am I calling it? My bookshelf, my magical bookshelf of spells.
Oh, you wizard, are you?
Yeah.
You want to be a wizard.
I do, yes. I want to be Harry.
It's clear that.
Such a thing. So we've got that created, and now I just need to create my actual bookshelf itself. So basically what's happening here, and I'm happy to share this code, but we're going to run through all of the books that we have, all of the spells that we have, vectorize them all, put them inside of a vector database. I have to say, the enterprise version of this, or the big scale version of this, is way simpler than this. The idea here is that I'm just able to show you in code how it works. So let's add those vectors into the actual database itself. Cool, done, and now we've got 21 spells inside of our magic spell thing.
Yep.
How are we doing so far?
So we're good.
Yes.
We are ready.
Okay.
We've set everything up, and we're ready to ask it a question.
We're ready to ask a question. Okay.
It's context aware. That knows about spells.
So this is how this works. So and again, map this into your head for any time you're looking at retrieval augmented generation workflows. So we're going to ask it a question. So here is a question: how do I become a fish?
Is this a joke? How do you become a fish?
Well, this is a magical question. So I define that.
Why don't you
as
ask your spell book?
Yeah, well, we're going to. And let's have a look. So we've embedded that question, right?
Yep.
So we've converted that question into this embeddings list. And what I'm going to do here is, because I know you like it when I do this.
Go on.
We're going to live code. It's such a benign piece of live code. Let's have a look at what that actually looks like. Okay, so there is the embedding of our question, right? So there's a bunch of it's not human readable, right? It's
numbers.
It's a mathematical representation of how do I become a fish? And our magical bookshelf has got similar looking embeddings for all of those things that we had. So now that we've got that, we can use this search ability of the database, send this embedding query in and say, find me the spells. This is essentially what we're asking.
Yep.
Find me the spells which closest match that query that we have of how to become a fish. Now, not going to surprise you to know that there is a spell in there for how to become a fish.
Way.
There is. But what it does is it's found the top 4. Because I said k equals 4, it's specifically found the top 4. Now, that's not touched a large language model yet, right? That's
It's a search on the vector
it's searched. It's got this information back from our embedded database. Now we get to do the so that's the retrieval bit. That's the R bit.
Tick.
Yes.
Yep.
Now we need to augment our generation. That's the AG part. And so here we've got a prompt template. So it says, given the spells provided in the following list of spells between the spell tags, find the answer to the question written between the question tags. And so using Ginger, it doesn't matter. It's a templating thing. It's just I mean, it's common in Python. I don't know what you use in TypeScript, something else. I don't know.
There's 1,000.
1,000, yeah. Or just some string replacement would be easy too. So what we're going to do is we're going to insert the spells that we found in here, in text. So this isn't, they've been retrieved from the database. We've got the index value of where they are in that database. And so then we have to go back to our original data source and pull the actual text out. Because that vectorization is a one-way street. So that's going to end up in here. We're going to insert our question there, and we're going to say, figure out the answer from this. So this is what's happening behind the scenes in terms of our retrieval augmented generation workflows.
And because we always do the retrieval back from text, it's always a good idea to have the vector store in the same database as your underlying data.
So it's going to depend a little bit, right, on I mean, in this particular case, we're just in 2 different parts of memory with the same index value, so you can go and find it. Production scale proper vector databases are going to have that solution for you, so that you have essentially got your vectors in an index And again, you can basically then pull back the actual real text from the database. Lots of different options with vector databases. You can probably talk more about this in the next part of the segment. Here I've kind of printed out, and printed out very well because it's spanning over here. But you can see this is my filled out prompt. So given the spells provided, blah, 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 spell tags and blah. And if we go over here, you can see that it actually has some spells that it's found, and it's inserted them into the template. And it's sent that up, and it's ready to go to the large language model.
I'm slowly reading those. And,
yes. Well, so look,
turn a frog into a horse.
Yes. So that is close because I guess it's probably animal related.
Right.
And you know, I think I asked how I can turn into a frog. I'm an animal, frog's an animal, and that's turning something into a something. I'm going to make the assumption that's why it's found it. Also, it's found 4. That doesn't mean that the 4th one is particularly relevant, but it's more relevant than the rest of them.
Well, that's the nature of semantics.
Exactly. So now we get to do some of the actual large language model part, because we still haven't done that yet. We created the template. Here we've got a fairly boilerplate piece of Python code which will call the Amazon Bedrock service. I'm using Titan Text Express v1, so by no means the most up-to-date model, but it's still going to work for us. We're going to pass the prompt in, and we're going to ask it to make a generation for us. So let's press that, and then all we need to do is then unpack the response that we get back from it. So we're going to, actually, this is where we're invoking the model with the keyword arguments we've just defined, and we're going to print out the generation. And here is your...
puff out your cheeks and say, bloop, 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 I'm a fish.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to do that.
Oh,
because
we've got
we have the rest of
left.
Maybe we'll do it at the very end.
Yeah.
We could do that. I have some other ones here. I'm going to throw this in.
Anybody at home wants to try it?
Yes.
Please feel free.
Yes. But send your comment and question in first. If I've got another...
We don't hold any... if it happens, it happens.
No. So if I put another question in here, how can I get started with an AWS service really quickly? I'm going to embed that instead and come down, and we should get a different answer to come out. If I just enter, 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 and it says, open the console and use Amazon Q. Yay! Yes. So look, I don't know how long we've got. That is how retrieval augmented generation works. What you're doing is you're doing essentially a text retrieval from a data source. You're inserting that into a template and then asking the large language model to go figure stuff out. So there's a natural language output from the whole thing. And the more sophisticated your model, the more sophisticated you can get.
Excellent. Any questions? Actually, let's throw over the chat. Anything coming through the chat?
One has come in from LinkedIn. Don't forget to be asking your questions in chat because I'm here and I can badger these guys for you. So does vector database allow for cross-model search and retrieval? Mike and Derek.
Yes, it can do. So does the vector database do that? Potentially, the embeddings model you're using to actually generate the embeddings is the key thing to there, making sure that you've got a multimodal embeddings model. And so if you have that, then you can then go and put those embeddings into your database, and happy days. You can definitely do that, yes. I'll point out, I don't know if we have another question coming in, I'll point out down on the side here, I'm back in the Amazon Bedrock console page. You know that's my happy place, right? That's where I feel comfortable.
You never leave.
So down on the side here, we've got knowledge bases. And this knowledge bases service, this is essentially a service version of retrieval augmented generation. And you know what? The demo of this is way faster than what we just did. I wanted to show you that because I wanted to show you under the hood what was happening. And you know, I like mucking around with code. You know that.
Yeah, you love it, especially Python.
You can do it here. You can basically throw a document into an S3 bucket or a whole collection of documents into an S3 bucket, and it can create the embeddings database for you, and then also give you an endpoint you can hit so that you can start to query your knowledge base.
Cool.
So,
Cool. I think the question that I wanted to ask, because I get it a lot, so we have RAG as a way of being context aware and giving you answers on particular areas that you want to ask. What about fine tuning? Fine tuning is another way you can do that. What would be the difference?
We are on the same wavelength.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
How is that different to fine tuning?
I did not read that. Well, okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay.
It's happening.
It must be a good question.
Yes.
All right. Okay, great question. It is a great question. So, all right, let's just put it in context here. So you have your large language model. The first thing that you can do in order to be able to influence its output is you put together a prompt. And the prompt can be relatively complex. The second thing you do is you start to look at actually getting your content into that prompt, which is essentially what we've just done, right? And so that's retrieval augmented generation is a way of doing that. In context learning is what the nerds like to call it, because it's your data inside of the prompt.
I'm not going to call it that.
You should, absolutely.
Cool.
We are the nerds. So so beyond that, that's when we start to skip to what is next. So we talked before about what do you want from a large language model. My personal feelings on this is I want the model to know that up is up, down is down, sky is blue, how language works, and to be able to do stuff. I see them as sort of interns, if I can say this. So if you have an intern working for you, that's your large language model. And just on the RAG thing.
Apologies to all the interns out there, by the way.
No. This is no. I mean, if you have an intern, you hire an intern because they're capable and they know how to get stuff done.
Right.
But they don't necessarily know everything about the organisation they've just landed in, right? Because it's day one. So
actually, excellent analogy.
Right. And so, but what they do know is how to use the wiki, and they know how to go to the internet to search for stuff. So that's what I want from an intern. So that's retrieval augmented generation. You have a model which has got the smarts to be able to go and get the knowledge from somewhere else. Now, what happens next is you have an intern or you have this person working at an organization who has very specific terminology. So they're working in the medical profession or the finance profession or legal profession, where the way language is used is a bit different from the way that we just grow up learning about. Now, if that's the case, then when, and we're still in the analogy, they go out to the wiki and they look at stuff and they go, I think it's related, but I don't really understand. So at that point, what do? Well, you send that intern away to go and receive some training somewhere. You send them to university or whatever it is. And that's the analogy with a large language model. That's when you want to say, okay, well, let's go and do some additional training to my model to give it the ability to be able to understand the domain that we're working in. Now that splits up into two different parts. You've got fine-tuning and you've got continuation training. Different scales. Fine-tuning really is, can I help the model to understand the task that I have for it? So I want to tweak it a little bit. I want to make it sort of more aligned to just the specific kind of output that we have. I do know people that are putting a lot of data in at fine-tuning and getting it to learn more stuff. Your mileage might vary. Experiment, I think, is the answer there. Continuation and fine-tuning is a simpler endeavor and a cheaper endeavor because it just adjusts some of the information inside the model. In fact, it might even add some extra information. Continuation training as a whole, another beast in itself. You basically carry on training the model. And we've talked briefly before about how these things take months and months to train, often at huge expense with huge amounts of compute. So you absolutely can do that, but it's a much bigger job, and you really need to be sure that that's what you want to do to basically carry on training a model for yourself. If I can do anything on this live stream, please, please, please start off with prompt engineering. You probably can get there with prompt engineering. If that doesn't get you there, obviously RAG and stuff like that for the specific contextual knowledge of your particular project you're working on, and hammer on that before you start getting into fine-tuning and continuation training. Absolutely can do that in Amazon Bedrock, don't get me wrong, but it's not the thing you should do day one.
Excellent advice, and I hope it answered the question for me. I hope it answered the question for the people in the chat. So I think we've done our foundation of what is RAG.
Absolutely.
Hopefully that's a very excellent, I might say, foundation learning into RAG. We're just going to take a short break, and we're actually going to come back with our next guest, Anton, who's actually going to go through an application that he built using the technologies that we've just been, well, Mike so eloquently talked about. So stay tuned. We'll be back very shortly. And we're back. Welcome back to Build On Live Generative AI Special event, beaming to you all the way from Sydney, Australia. My name's Derek, Developer Advocate at AWS. We are live on the AWS LinkedIn channel and also on the AWS Developers YouTube channel. So if you jump on those channels, have a chat. We can fire some questions up. We'll hopefully answer them for you.
Yeah.
So this section, I'm joined by Anton, who's going to run us through a great demo. So, Anton, welcome.
Thank you very much, Derek. It's fantastic to be here. What a fantastic show so far. I just want to say as well, Mike, I actually started off as an intern, so I really enjoyed your little rag analogy was bringing me back to my intern days here at AWS, which is how I got started.
You were defended. That's why I was absolutely worried there.
I was worried at the start that, it might have been a negative against interns, but no, interns,
yeah.
always fantastic.
He turned it around nicely. So, Anton, for those people watching, would you like to introduce yourself, what you do, and yeah. That
of course.
Like a great idea.
Yeah, so my name's Anton. I'm a FSI Solutions Architect here at AWS. So FSI is the financial services industry. I'm sure we have a few viewers here who are working in financial services sectors, both here in Australia, where we're filming, but also across Asia Pacific as well. So I have the great joy of working with some of our largest banks across the region, helping them to design, implement, and really innovate on AWS. And one of the cool things, of course, that have come up recently is generative AI, Bedrock, RAG, agents, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, it's almost as if somebody should put a 3-hour live show on about that topic.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We should talk to someone
It'll never
about
work.
that.
No, don't do that.
Okay, excellent. And probably the other question you get asked a lot, Anton, is how can I make more money?
That's a very good question. Unfortunately, I can't give you any of those tips, but if you actually want to learn a little bit, I'm trying to learn a little bit more about finance myself. I'm always wanting to learn more, and I've been asking Haiku and Sonnet more about just financial, not for financial advice, but just financial theories, how everything works. So I'd recommend doing that.
Awesome. So I've seen your demo, and I love it, actually. So for everybody watching, would you like to explain what you're going to demonstrate for us?
Yeah, of course. So this demo is fantastic because it combines some of my favorite things, which is generative AI, AWS, and Minecraft. So you can see here that this demo, we've given a very Minecraft theme. We've got our little Minecraft characters here. We've got our diamond pickaxe, bit of a play on trying to mine for insights.
So if you're a little bit confused with the Minecraft theme, more on that in section 3. In fact, a lot more, and we're leading into it.
Brilliant. So what this demo is called, it's called the Bedrock Insight Miner. And what it is it allows you as a user to upload a criteria, whether it be legislation, a marking rubric, if you work in construction, a list or inventory. It allows you to upload that to a knowledge base, which is essentially a vector store, which we discussed a little bit earlier as well. You can then upload your own document. So it could be your company's policy around specific legislation. It could be a report that you want to mark as well. And using the power of agents on Bedrock, using Bedrock knowledge bases, using some of our cool AWS serverless services like Textract, what this demo does is it then adds annotations to that uploaded document. So it'll annotate lines that Bedrock has found to be interesting based on the criteria. So it really helps that process of marking up and annotating and accelerating that for users.
Awesome. So it sounds like a cool demo. That's actually, because this section's all about building, so the art of building. How about we look at the architecture as you've built it, and maybe talk through it and talk through. When you're building things, there's always architectural trade-offs. Yeah, and so a lot of these components that you've chosen for a reason. If you could go through that would be really, really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. So we have our architecture diagram here. This is one of my favorite parts of a job. It's being able to create an architecture diagram. And when I like to build on AWS, I really like to get into the mindset of making sure everything is serverless, making sure that I have that agility to spin up resources, spin down resources, experiment really quickly. So that's something I personally value a lot when I develop. So the way that we've designed this, if we work across Lindley, is we have AWS Amplify, which I use an incredible amount. I mean, what a fantastic service just for spinning up front ends, spinning up proof of concepts, not having to worry about the stuff that no one really likes doing too much, all that networking and such.
Which just interestingly enough, last week released Gen 2, Amplify Gen 2, which is a code-first framework for building applications on AWS. So worth checking out if anybody's out there interested in Amplify, Gen 2.
Fantastic. I'm learning stuff here as well. And yeah, so we have a React website in TypeScript. I know Derek is one of your favorites right there.
One of.
Yeah. One of.
Don't tie me down. Yeah. Don't be Mike.
Mike's getting attacked in the corner in the dungeon.
Fine-tune me.
So we have Amplify receiving user requests.
Yep, so the user will submit your criteria and your document that you want to analyze as well. The criteria and the document are then uploaded to S3, so we have S3 upload functionality there. From the S3 bucket, we actually have a Lambda function. So this Lambda function, it's driven by an S3 event notification. So when you upload a new document to that S3 bucket, that triggers the Lambda function. And what that does is it actually syncs the Bedrock knowledge base. So we'll talk about knowledge base.
Yeah, let's talk about. Okay. So
we can talk about it now, actually. Yeah.
I think you've mentioned knowledge base a few times. I think Mike may have alluded to it. Maybe a little bit more about what it is.
Yeah, of course. So a knowledge base is, as Mike was talking about earlier, the entire concept of RAG, so Retrieval Augmented Generation, creating embeddings, storing them as vectors, storing them in what we call Euclidean space, which is my favorite thing to say.
Love that word.
Which is great.
I haven't heard that since I did maths.
Yeah, same. Yeah, it's
it out.
Yeah.
I'll stop saying it. So it takes the documents and essentially it's a managed service. So it will use a embedding model to embed those uploaded documents, and then what I'm doing is I have an S3 bucket, which is the data source.
Right.
So then it will then create those vectors, create an open search serverless implementation, and
so
install those vectors there.
The reason, just to paraphrase, that you chose knowledge base as opposed to say another vector store database is because of the serverless nature, costs, things like that?
Yeah, serverless, costs.
Could have just made it all from scratch in Python, surely. I mean,
well, yeah. But let's just...
Could or should, Mike?
Let's just leave Mike in the corner there. Continue, Anton.
I should have. So that will sync our context in the knowledge base, vectorize it, embed it, and such.
Cool.
So that's ready for the retrieval augmented generation process.
Yep.
I also have an API gateway here, which we're using WebSockets. And again, we talked a little about WebSockets earlier in the show. So ensuring that stream of tokens is constantly going to and fro from the front end. So make it look, or make it, the responses come back in real time.
Did you think about AWS AppSync, a GraphQL?
I did. I was meaning to implement that, but as I do sometimes, you have like a little bit from this project, a little bit from that project, cobble it together. But no, AppSync is definitely the way to go, I think, in the future. We then have a Lambda here, which then coordinates with our Bedrock agent. So think of a Bedrock agent as, again, it's fully managed, as a orchestration service. So it'll orchestrate between the user input. It'll then communicate and perform RAG with our knowledge base. It'll perform memory stores, so conversational memory, and also these really cool things called action groups as well.
So we're going to do quite an in-depth demo and talk around agents. So stay tuned in R3 for that if you're interested in Bedrock agents.
Definitely. So we have an action group, which is a Lambda, and that basically takes the prompt, and then based on that information, it then retrieves the most important parts of information from that document. It then uses TextRack to generate what we call bounding boxes. So not to get too specific, but this is the information that we need to actually annotate the PDF. So as we'll see in the demo, the PDF will be highlighted. We'll add little annotations and comments. Saves a lot of time from having to do it manually itself. We then have that returned back to the front end via a simple API. And again, the user is able to interact in a RAG-based manner with the chat via this implementation here. So
cool. And so the conversational history is stored in Amazon DynamoDB?
Yeah, so we have like session IDs and conversational chats as well, just to make sure that, we can look back in the future and you can access your past conversations as well.
Nice. That's cool. Nice run through. So what's next? Shall we have a look at it?
Yeah, let's dive right in. So the first step that we have in this workflow is we want to upload a criteria. So you can upload any criteria you want, whether it be legislation, whether it be a recipe, whether it be a marking rubric as well.
Not my recipes, please.
Well, we can generate them using Claude. We can create some of the Irish specialties. So we'll start just with one that might be pertinent to some of our financial services customers here.
Okay.
So CPS 230, this is just, it's created by the prudential body here in Australia, all about operational resiliency in the cloud. So this is a real hot topic of conversation
Yes.
for a lot of the customers that I have. So you can see here, this is legislation.
It's quite a large document. Would that be fair to say? It's
Quite a large document.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a risk person having to read through that on a rainy day.
Well, we don't need to anymore. We've got this.
Exactly. We can just use a Bedrock Insight Miner. We can then upload a document. So I've just drafted up just a really short draft compliance paper for any company, great company.
Yep. Any company compliance paper. Yep.
Yep.
CPS 230. Okay.
CPS 230.
Right. Yep.
So there, we just have an example of what a risk person would be creating at that bank.
Gotcha. Yep.
So we can upload that document. Wait for that upload to be successful.
So these are all going up to S3.
Yep. So behind the scenes right now, we've got Lambda function, the S3 of the knowledge bases. It's syncing, it's vectorizing, it's embedding.
Yep.
It's laying the groundwork for what we want to do now, which is we want to obviously see an analysis, have a chat. So again, with generative AI, a lot of it's down to prompting. So we'll provide a quick prompt here, which is score that CPS 230 document using the CPS 230 criteria.
Yep.
I promise I'm not doing a bet, but every time I say CPS 230, I get extra points.
You could have chosen a shorter standard.
Yes, maybe I should have. We've got a cooler Minecraft-related one coming up next as well. So you can see there's two parts to it. Firstly, we have the compliance paper here. You can see that the Bedrock agents, the Lambda action group, Textract has actually compared the document's contents against the criteria, identified parts of a document that are interesting but meet the criteria, but don't meet the criteria.
Yep.
I then use a Python library to then actually do highlighting as well. So we use that information from Textract, the bounding boxes, to find the actual text on the page, highlight it.
Yep.
And what's kind of cool about this as well, is when I find my mouse, is again,
Voiceovers.
you can then see some of the strengths and weaknesses as well. So again, if you're in risk, if you're in law, if you're marking a student's exam paper, back to university when I was doing that as well, you can just, this is the stuff that takes hours and hours, but you can do it incredibly quickly using agents.
Very cool. And on the left-hand side, it was just summarizing? Is this when you prompted?
Yeah, so it's summarizing the document and it's actually evaluating the document against that criteria. So it's looked at that criteria, it's then looked at the document and said, you know what, based on the context that you've provided, which is the document, and based on the context, which is the criteria, then we're able to evaluate and score it out of 10. So we can see here great scores for governance, great scores for risk management, and you can continue chatting with this as well. So, why is business continuity, if I can spell?
It's all right. Live typing is an art.
It is.
Yep. That I have not mastered.
I thought it'd be easier than it was. So again, it's hitting the agent. We have a prompt template, which I'll show a little bit later. That's then performing RAG on the knowledge base. So it's looking at the criteria, it's looking at the document. It's then coming up with an evaluation and sending back their WebSockets as well. So you can see here, the reason why it's relatively low is it doesn't provide some of these key points. And that correlates with some of the comments made here. Awesome. So yeah, just accelerating
very cool
the time.
Very cool indeed.
Yeah.
So so that's it in a finance domain. And was there anything else you wanted to demo in that domain, or do you want to go into maybe a domain that's not finance?
Yes.
A bit more interesting.
Bit more interesting.
I'm not saying finance.
Finance
Sorry,
is very interesting.
I apologize again. I'm doing a lot of apologizing in this stream. If you're in love finance,
speak to me.
Derek
But no, let's try something in Derek's words a little bit more fun, which I agree as well. So what are we here today? We're talking about Minecraft. You can see all the backgrounds here. So we have hacks for Minecrafters. So we can see this is a little bit of a criteria document showing, how do we create some cool stuff in the virtual Minecraft world? What are some blocks? This is really throwing me back to my primary school days where, I was building different things.
All right. So only primary school kids play with Minecraft.
No. The love starts in primary school.
So that's it from Anton. Thanks very much.
I don't think I'm getting invited back now.
Those playing along at home, in our planning calls for this, I said something controversial but brave. And that was that I had never played Minecraft because I was not an 8-year-old boy.
No.
And Mike took great offense to
Hang
this,
on.
but I've since learned that there are many adults among us who play Minecraft, and look, I'm wearing the Minecraft glasses today.
I recall
You've been
you saying
assimilated.
it was only played by 8-year-olds.
I didn't know that. I have learned, I have broadened my horizons and heard from many diverse perspectives about people that are beyond the age of 8 that play Minecraft. And there's so many of them in the comments today in the chat, which is...
We love you all.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Right. So we're
Back to Minecraft.
Right, yeah. Wow. Okay.
Well, I mean, Minecraft is sort of like AWS, right? You get all these different building blocks. You can put them together.
That's what I'm learning. That's what I'm learning.
So here's a little report that I built. I've never done an actual Minecraft report before, so this is a bit new for me. I was helped a little bit by Haiku as well. So this is a bit of a report about me building my house. So, here's an introduction. Let's see, location. Like, where am I going to build my house? Am I going to build it in a forest biome?
Yeah.
What am I going to build my house out of? What are the walls?
Not TNT.
Not TNT.
Yeah.
I tried to build out of Bedrock, but you need cheats for that.
Okay.
Sort of all that fun stuff there. And then again, that same process is going on, and we can analyze the document. So
Different criteria this time.
different criteria. So again, the live typing.
Nice.
Brilliant. So you can see again, the LLM has compared the uploaded document to the criteria, identified parts of the criteria, also the report that are interesting based on that criteria, and also just doing some annotation as well. So, wall material score, 8 out of 10. Not
Nice.
built of TNT.
Yeah.
Always helps. Yeah.
Excellent.
Obsidian's good as well.
Uh-huh.
I could be losing some of my finance colleagues right now. So yeah, again, the same process, but it just shows the versatility. Like, it doesn't have to be legal legislation. I've actually tried it on one of my old university reports. I found the criteria, the rubric, as they say. I found one of my reports. I uploaded it, and I have to say, I got a much better score on this. So,
Uh-oh. Favoritism.
Favoritism. No, it just shows. I mean, one of the advantages is it's objective, right? We objectively look at the criteria, and unlike, say if you're you have a human that could be manually redlining this. There are internal biases we have, whereas we can, get past some of those using this.
Very interesting example. So we've had the architecture, Anton, and we've had a demonstration. What about the interesting bit from my perspective?
Yes.
Some code.
Some code. Here we go.
There we go. Yep.
So we have it again in TypeScript, CDK, our cloud development kit here. So I love using a CDK because I'm trying to get better at TypeScript. I'm trying to, one language to rule them all. I can do my front end. I can do my back end.
Be careful, but yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I've been using TypeScript just to use the construct, create the constructs from which I'll be provisioning my resources here. So
So this code, so using infrastructure as code, you can provision this application in any account.
Yes, yeah. So you can provision it and an account that you have in a any account essentially as well, and deploy it in different regions really quickly too, which is fun. As well, especially if you want to experiment with some of the new models as well. Like, sometimes they're available in one region first, and you want to get in and try those out as well. So we have here, we're creating our bucket first. So this is the document bucket in which everything is uploaded to initially. We also have a Python Lambda layer as well. So this has some of those libraries that I use to actually annotate the documentation when it's uploaded as well. So yeah, taking the bounding box information, converting that into highlighting functions and such. So that was actually a lot of fun. I hadn't done something like that before.
Very cool.
Of course, IAM roles, very important. Must have those.
Least privilege is the thing.
100%. And yeah, they're creating Lambda functions as well. I actually had a Lambda function for the document upload as well. So that's just an architectural decision that I made, and that just allowed me to keep it.
It's not uncommon that everybody writes applications like these in Python, because typically written by not traditional software developers. And I'm saying that looking at Mike at the same time. Not traditional software developers, and so it's a nice way of getting into the realm of software development.
Yeah, definitely.
And integrating and calling APIs that most of the Gen AI services offer, including Bedrock.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, we have our API gateways as well. So for the REST functionality for uploading and sending that document actually back to the front end, as we just saw. We also have our Lambda function for knowledge base sync. This is something that I actually had fun writing. I I'm like, oh, this is, you feel like a problem solver. You're like, let's, instead of having to manually sync the knowledge base, we can create this function that S3 event notification triggers. It's quite fun to get into.
Isn't building stuff cool?
It is awesome. It is so good. And like, it's so much easier than it's ever been, right? Like, you can use things like QDeveloper as well to really accelerate it as well. Then we have a DynamoDB table for storing some of our connection information, so our session ID for the WebSockets. And then, yeah, we have our API gateway connections policies. Here, Lambda functions, so a number of Lambda functions just to handle that, the connect, the default route, and also the disconnect as well.
Yep.
So this is like a lot of underlying plumbing that really
Yeah.
lets us get to the
Which actually
fun
provisions
stuff.
the architecture diagram that you showed us earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, if we get down to some of the generative AI stuff though, which is always fun, we're able to create knowledge bases as well. So I'm using the CDK, I quote it properly here, CDK Labs constructs as well.
It's an extension of CDK.
Which is an extension of CDK.
Yep.
And I found that really, it's the first time I've actually used it as infrastructure as code. Like previously I was doing a lot of through the console, so this was a great...
Yeah, it's also a community project, so if anybody hasn't used a CDK before, it is open source, and anybody can contribute, so yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, being able to create that data source, which is the S3, being able to create the agent as well, adding action groups, as well to that agent, so allowing for that text write functionality, and yeah, using NAG expressions as well, just to ensure security. So yeah, it was a real fun project to build, and yeah, look forward to keep iterating on it as well, and especially with agents, maybe adding some more autonomy as well. You know, being able to go and crawl the web for specific criteria that link to your document. So
cool, excellent. Well, maybe we'll throw it over to questions. Brooke, have we got anything there?
Literally was just finished typing it out. So
Again.
this is why, if you ask a question, this one's from LinkedIn, but if you ask a question, I can make sure it gets answered for you live. So this is sort of a three-part section. So how are agents getting used in the RAG app? A bit of explanation for this would be useful. Also, is there a tutorial with code available for this app?
Yeah, definitely. So using Bedrock agents, I found was such an easy way to orchestrate, foundational models, RAG, everything together, and get it up really, really quickly as well. So what I found was I have a prompt template in my Bedrock agent, and then I also have a knowledge base which I've linked to that Bedrock agent. So just defining the context from which that agent is able to interact with as well as one of the various actions. So again, I mean, as someone was saying earlier as well, one of the benefits of that is I can ask, where is Perth, for example? Great city. But unfortunately, it's context limited by RAG as well, so the agent won't have a knowledge for this workflow as well. In terms of some of the code that I use for this, unfortunately not public yet, but looking to push it out in the near future in AWS samples.
Awesome.
Yeah, or maybe even on Community AWS.
Yes.
So Community AWS is where I write all of my blog posts about generative AI. Mike writes lots, Derek writes lots. It's a great place to
Anybody
share your
can.
thoughts.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I better start writing then.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As soon as we've finished here, straight.
Just click clacking.
Cool. Any more? Or
There was a question that came in. So someone was asking, how can I get a job with AWS, which is something that happens all the time. So there's a dedicated careers page, but also now, self-plug, there's a whole generative AI careers page, and I'm in the video on that page, which is the reason I know it exists. So there's lots of careers, and you would have seen the industry change so much, even for being an intern here, Anton. It must have changed so much since you started, and there's going to be lots of different jobs in the future. Is there something you wish you knew when you were an intern that would have helped you progress your career here?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the great things that I learned working at AWS is everyone is just so helpful as well. Like sometimes you start off as an intern, you're like, ooh, can I go up to Derek? He's so much more senior than me, and ask him a few questions. And I wish that when I was an intern, I had a lot more. I had that knowledge at AWS. You're able to go and ask people with a lot more experience than you for help as well. But also things like, especially now with generative AI, which wasn't around when I was an intern, just diving deeper a little bit into things like prompt engineering and learning to use the various frameworks that are publicly available as well. And I think that really sets you up fantastically for all the POCs and opportunities you get to work on
awesome
through your career.
Great answer. Yes, I am more senior only because I'm older. A lot older. So yeah, I did want to watch. I just had one more question because we're probably, this is the last time we're going to talk about knowledge bases. So
Yes.
could you maybe go into why advantages of using the knowledge base, how you found it when you were using it, would you recommend it?
Yeah, 100% recommend it. Being a managed service, being so easy to set up, dumping your artifacts into an S3 bucket and having knowledge bases take care of that process of embedding, creating that vector store for you. It's seamless, and I literally can say it took seconds for me to set up the knowledge base in this demo. So I've had experience as well of setting up vector stores manually, like creating PG vector, which is fantastic and really versatile. But again, that requires a bit more time. And if you're wanting to experiment quickly, I found knowledge bases is just such an easy way to do so.
Cool. Awesome. So I think we'll wrap up. Obviously, Anton, thank you very much for coming on board. If you have any questions for Anton, pop them in the chat. I'm sure you can answer them as they come through. Anton, that was a fabulous demo. Hope everybody else liked it as well. And thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Yeah. So we're just going to go into another short break, and then we'll be back with the last hour of the show. And all will be revealed on our theme for the day. And welcome back to Build on Live, Generative AI Special Edition.
Super special.
Super special.
Yeah.
The last hour. We're into hour 3. And
Can you sound less defeated? So it's the last hour.
no, that's just my accent. It's the last hour. Let's say hour differently. Than
Sure.
Sad he doesn't want it to finish. He's sad about it. Right? See, Mike, you're too excited to get away from us.
I am. The generative AI will carry on after this show. We all know it.
It will.
Yes.
And so we start this section of the show with an empty palette.
Empty
Pallets.
Yeah.
We should maybe fill this over the next hour, but
I think so.
I think we probably need to maybe shift gears and talk about agents.
Agents, yes. So
Not secret agents.
Well,
But we could do.
we'll reveal the secrets of agents. Come on, Brooke, where are you with these things? We need the line
That
feeds,
is
you know.
good. Secrets of agents.
The secrets of agents. So yes, we start to explain why we're in the Minecraft world and why at the beginning of the show, particularly, I remember hearing all the animals, et cetera, et cetera.
Before we go into this,
Yes.
I need to do a refresher of why we're here and who we are.
I don't know.
Don't I? Who am I? Who are you? So yeah,
why are we here?
If you've just joined us, welcome. You've reached R3 of a live stream on Generative AI on the AWS LinkedIn channel and the AWS Developers YouTube channel.
Yep.
So if you're on those channels and watching, hello.
Yep.
We are, as I say, live, so interact with some chat.
Yes.
We've got Brooke listening for chat and so throw questions out at us as we go through, and welcome.
Not a question, but someone just wrote 007 in the chat. So the chat is listening, and I am looking. Yes.
Okay.
Nice
All
agent.
right. See? Oh, I see, right. I'm a little slow.
Yeah,
a little slow. It was too secret for me.
Agents.
So we're going to
Not
talk about
007.
agents, not 007. We're going to talk about agents in relation to generative AI. And I personally think this is one of the most exciting things which is happening at the moment. In the previous section, we heard about retrieval augmented generation.
Or RAG.
Or RAG. And the term agents was brought up sometimes during that as well. I mean,
It was.
retrieval augmented generation is a bit like a particular use case of agents.
Yep.
We're going to throw the door open here and look to see
Throw the baby with the bathwater.
see everything out.
Something.
See what we can get it to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, Minecraft world, super empty at the moment. Wouldn't it be great if we could put an agent in there?
Yes, it would.
Later.
Oh, stop teasing.
Later. For now, let's talk about what agents are, I suppose. So we talked about hallucination, all this kind of stuff, retrieval augmented generation. Agents are tools which large language models can connect into and use to basically give them agency, hence the name, and basically allow them to connect.
That's where it comes from.
Into the outside world. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Give them
Agency.
Yes.
Thank you.
Give them agency and allow to give them to connect to the outside world. Because what could be less scary than these large language models
Connecting to the outside world.
Free in the outside world.
Nothing at all.
Yes. Yeah, we just had a conversation, didn't we, about financial services. Imagine if it had access to that. But anyway, we're going to start looking at how we can build that.
Not in today's show.
Not on today's show, no. All right. So
how do we start building with agents?
Yeah, so a lot of people will have seen things like LangChain. So LangChain, super popular open source project. It kicked off pretty much January 2023 and became one of the most popular projects on GitHub. As it was certainly in the generative AI
we
space.
were actually looking at LangChain yesterday, and the project page for LangChain has changed so much in the last 3 days. It just evolves, and it just shows you how popular it is. It's crazy.
I mean, I remember back sort of like mid last year, I'd be doing demos and stuff, and I'd be playing around with LangChain, which is basically a prompt engineering platform that allows you to connect your large language models to other things. You can do RAG, you can do agents. And I remember I sat down in the morning, I did git pull, and I got down the clone rather, and I got down the libraries and all that kind of stuff. And then literally by lunchtime, the version had changed, and it's like, I want that one now. Actually, I think it was a pip.
Well, if you ever worked on a software project like me, with me, it would be like that.
No, it's like, there's another version. There's another version. Yes. Well, thankfully, I only code in Python, apparently, so that's okay. We will never cross paths. Anyway, so LangChain, super popular way to do it, and a super great way to get really quickly up and running with agents and agentic workflows. Can we enter into another term now?
Nice.
This was a frequently asked question that I knew was going to get asked.
Yes.
So, yes, magic, yes.
What does agentic mean?
No, because it's one of those things that, I just saw venture capitalists start saying the word agentic, and then for the longest time, I couldn't work out if it actually was a word or if just VC people thought it was, because I didn't hear tech people. Because, within tech, everyone was just saying agents. So I spent a genuine amount of time trying to figure out if agentic was a separate.
Sure. Yes. I've been extremely fortunate to work with Dr. Andrew Ng on the course that we talked about earlier on in the live stream. Yeah. I got the term agentic from him, and I believe I then sort of did the follow-up. I think it actually originally came from someone from Stanford who actually came up with the term agentic. But yeah, an agent's workflow, an agentic workflow, it's a workflow that has agency. It is agentic.
So Derek's standing here in the middle, learning lots.
So, yeah. I
hope you are too.
I updated genuinely the spell checker on my computer to add agentic into it. So it is a thing. Okay. So basically, when we're working with agents, the dream is the panacea. Did I get in the right place?
Yep.
Of
panacea.
Of having an application that can take what am I saying?
What are you saying?
Non-deterministic.
Right, yes. Take the
What hour is this? Non-deterministic input.
Yes.
To be able to process it somehow, to look at what that requires, and then create a non-deterministic output. So obviously, most application development, you fill out a form, you do some code, you output a thing. One comes in, two comes out, whatever.
So you said non-deterministic twice there. So
Yes.
it's bringing in non-deterministic,
Yes.
Processing it and exporting in deterministic outcome.
No, in non-deterministic
Non-deterministic
outcome.
outcome.
That's exactly the thing, right?
Okay.
So let's put it into contextualize it for us,
Please.
nobody else. You all probably know what we're talking about here. So let's say, for example, an email arrives from a customer. So customer support is a real big use case for this. So an email arrives from a customer. What does that email say? No idea. It could be saying your product's great. It could be saying your product sucks. It could be saying,
Hi.
are you free for lunch today? It could be anything. We don't know. Non-deterministic. And so
It's probably saying, click on the link.
it's probably, who knows? Please, can I have a free coupon? Blah, 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 blah. And the outcome to that is non-deterministic too. Like we either need to bin the email, or we need to respond kindly, or we need to give them a return package slip, or whatever it is. It could be a number of different things. And so the agent sort of wants to sit in the middle, this theoretical application that we have, to figure out what to do based on what comes in, and figure out what's going to happen as it comes out the other side. So non-deterministic on both sides, seemingly impossible. Right?
Yeah.
And we're going to give it a go. So what we're going to do is we're going to build the application with an agent, and this is basically a selection of tools which the large language model powered application can use to affect an outcome. But it's going to reason and problem solve and do some critical thinking itself to try and figure out what to do. That's what we're going to try and do. And in terms of where we're at as an industry right now, we're at the beginnings of this. And we can experiment and make things work.
It's absolutely, this is the most interesting part of this domain because of the critical thinking, because humans our critical thinking is us, defines us.
Yes.
So we are now applying that too.
Yeah, so this is where, I mean, these models are intelligent. They're not conscious or anything, but they are intelligent to a point, and it's being able to tap into that. And so, language models aren't just about generating text and poems and stuff. They're also about generating thinking and doing stuff outside of that. So we can see some of that in action.
Okay.
Yeah. So we can have a go at doing that. So I mentioned LangChain before. Super great, interesting place to start. You start to enter into conversations about how can I productionize that and stuff. What we're going to have a look at here is Amazon Bedrock's got agent workflows built into it. And it actually makes it genuinely super easy to put together. Similar to
So Anton, this is what Anton was alluding to in his demo. He'd used agents for a particular task.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and so if I scroll down in the menu here, I'm going to get to agents, and we currently have one built in there because whilst you were having that conversation, I was busy at the side. Coding
that's
up
what
this.
you're doing in the den.
Having a go at some Python. So there is some Python here, and so I've built an agent just for Build on Live. Let's go and see what it is. So if I just navigate into here. Normally speaking, if we were to ask a large language model what the time was, it wouldn't be able to tell us the answer.
Wouldn't have a clue.
Which it seems like that's kind of crazy, right? But the large language model, it's a language interpreter. It's got like the ability to be able to generate language, but it doesn't have the time. It doesn't know things, as we've talked about before.
Interesting, given what you said earlier about you want the LLM to know if the sky is blue.
Yes.
Yes.
World knowledge. And that back to that critical thinking. I want the LLM to have the ability to do critical thinking, but then give it the tools in order to be able to affect something, and to do something. Or to be able to retrieve some information, such as, and we're going to show here very, very briefly the time before we jump into other things and go back to Minecraft. So I built this agent here literally just now. So this is the Build on Live agent, and when you come to follow this workflow through in the console, you get to choose a bunch of things. So let me go to Agent Builder up in the top here. I'll collapse down this test screen at the side. We'll come to that in a moment. So we can give it a name. So I've called it the Build on Live agent. because I have no imagination.
Very imaginative.
Yeah, thanks. I have no imagination. I didn't put a description in there because who ever does? Everybody absolutely should.
It should say test agent.
It probably, yeah.
Or
Okay.
test time agent.
Yes, test time. Yes. Now there is a part where we describe it, which is super important. So this description here is just for us, so we can see what that thing is, much like you'll find elsewhere on the AWS console. But let's keep going. We've got a role that we're going to use, normal kind of stuff. We'll skip over that for the moment. Then we've got here the model that we want to select. So this is the large language model, which is an Amazon Bedrock-based large language model. It's in there. We can choose the one we want to use. I've selected Claude 3 Haiku. Very capable, very fast. I could easily choose other ones. And here, I've actually got an instruction, which hopefully everything is correctly typed in.
You're happy and cheerful. This is a consistency in your bots. They're always happy and cheerful.
I like to be happy and cheerful.
Okay.
And I like the bots that I create to be happy and cheerful too.
Excellent.
So yeah, you're a happy and cheerful bot who can help users find out the time. You answer all questions like a pirate.
Arr.
I realized that we hadn't done any of that on this show, and you can't not do that. So this is part of the prompt template that will be used, right? Or this will go into the prompt template.
I know where you got that idea from, and that's hilarious.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. Yeah. So that's our way of explaining to the model, the agent, how we want it to behave. Then we can't just leave it at that. We need to give it some tools, as we talked about. So we do that through something called action groups. And because I accepted the default name, it's got this name. And I'm sorry, I should have replaced it. But here is our default action group. I'm going to navigate in there, and we can see what that looks like. So inside of here, just now collapse that down. We've got a number of different ways to do this. When I first created this one, just a moment ago, at my dungeon table, whatever it's called, my Python dungeon.
We're not allowed to call it dungeon
we're not?
table.
No, okay, right.
No.
At my den.
Mike's den.
Yeah. I used this top option here, which is quick create new Lambda function recommended. And what that's going to do, and what that did for us, is it created a Lambda function for us, but it also created a whole bunch of permissions and things behind the scenes to connect all the stuff together.
So you don't have to. It's doing it for you.
You can get it to do it for you. Now look, we muck around with this stuff all the time. This is great to get you up and started really quickly. You can see how it works. We'll look how you can do all of this with CloudFormation, CDK, and all this kind of stuff later.
That comes later.
That comes later. So we're ClickOps for the moment, folks, but bear with us. So I did that on that top option. So it created a Lambda function for us. It did the permissions. Now that I'm back in, it's sort of acknowledging the fact that we have an existing Lambda function. That's because it created it for us. So basically what's going to happen is when we ask when we ask the agent a question, it will use the large language model capability for language, and it will then go and use the tool that we're about to provide it. And the tool will be inside of our Lambda function. So that's the first way that we're going to do this. So makes a bunch of sense. We have another option here, return control. We will get back to that momentarily. So down here, I've got the definition of that function that we've defining, which is get time. So super simple and straightforward. Like, to keep your tools really simple, allow the large language model to figure out what it needs to do. Give your agent a whole bunch of simple tools so that it can reason through it. In this particular case, just the one tool. The tool is going to be called getTime, and I describe it here. And again, this does actually go into the prompt behind the scenes.
Right,
and it tells the large language model, you have a function called getTime, and it gets the current time.
Simply that.
Simple that. So that's all defined there. And so if I go back out, I'm used to being in here and actually having just typed all of that, but I decided rather than type it live, I'd do it over there. So
Chicken.
Now, so we can go ahead and prepare our model. And again, just remembering, if we asked a large language model normally what the time was, a modern large language model will actually come back to us and say, I don't know, because I'm a large language model. What do you want from me? But here, if I say, see, that's why I didn't do it live.
So it won't hallucinate. It will actually come back with I don't know.
Modern models, certainly the ones that you'll tend to find. It used to be awesome for demos, for this kind of thing, to be able to say, look, and it's gone bananas with its output. Normally now they just say, what do you want from me? You know better than this. I don't know the time. So I'm going to run that. And so what's going to happen now is it's going to reason through with natural language. What tool do I need to use? Oh, I need to use the one which is related to time. And it comes back with that. And disappointingly didn't respond like a pirate. It did when I was over there. So it could be that I've
maybe the pirate has not had enough rum.
Yeah, yes, that'll be it. Let's see, I'll just try one more time as we're here. I'm going to test the working draft. What is the time? Demos have been going okay up until this point, haven't they?
You've said that the bad thing now.
There we go.
Oh, me bucko.
The time, whatever it is, me bucko. And it's obviously just picking up the time from the server.
That's pirate.
Yeah. So if we actually go to the Lambda function, probably should have done that before.
Yeah. That's okay.
So here, again, we're just looking at it inside of the console. This is the Lambda function that was created for me by that option that we selected with a little bit of stuff that I've added in. So when the function gets called, it gets sent, obviously, the event, and inside of the event, we have function.
Yep, so you coded if function equals get time.
Exactly.
Response body equals text, and then body.
That's right.
So that's the tool.
And so, yeah, and that is the tool, as simple as it is. So anything that you can write code for that can respond in text of some kind, and that could be JSON, or it could be just natural language, or it could be whatever, anything that the model can understand, you can connect into here. So connect out to an API, connect out to, send an email, launch a firework or something, whatever.
Launch a firework.
Oh, fire a cannon. There you go. That's more.
Well, I just find my my Jolly Roger. Hoist up the mainsail,
yes, exactly.
And off we go.
Yeah, we've gone far away from Minecraft there, haven't we? But yes. So that's the code there, and in a nutshell, that's how you can put it together. Really simple. Now you can put in multiple tools inside of the action group. You can have multiple action groups. You can expand it out, and you can get more sophisticated.
Nice. Brooke, any questions on agents so far?
Okay, no, but something that I came home from work last night and completed was I sewed several sock puppets, which Mike, Derek, and I have used at a summit previously. And I've made the offer in the comments, but I wanted to live on air. If you leave a sock emoji at the start of your comment can be read by a sock puppet. So that is the future of technical communication.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
One thing I did want to think about is we've talked a lot about the model selection earlier. Does that change a lot for what you're working on now? Are there things that would be different specifically when you're working with agents that you need to think about for your model selection?
So again, about complexity. So we've talked, I sort of mentioned before about the intelligence of models, right? And so typically we would say that the larger it is, the more parameters it has, the more intelligent it is, which really just means that it gets to be able to process that non-deterministic input with more detail, follow a larger prompt to be able to figure out what to do. Behind the scenes here, if I click on Show Trace underneath here, you actually get to see some of the behind the scenes of what actually just happened. Actually, this is kind of important, and complexity of what happens here it sort of goes hand in hand with the model that you would like to choose. It's also worth pointing out that not every single Amazon Bedrock model or model that's available on Amazon Bedrock is also available in agents. There's a subset of that, and so they limit it down to the models that will get the best kind of outcome. So here in this trace, we can actually see a little bit more about what's going on, and it says here. So you get to see you're a happy and cheerful bot. That was the stuff that we typed before, right?
Sure was. Yep.
But you also notice that it's now been joined by all of this other stuff. So there's a bunch of prompt templating that's going on here, and saying things like you have some tools available. Inside this action group, you've had a tool called Get Time, and what does that do? Well, so before when I was saying that that text would end up in the prompt, here it is actually inside the prompt, so it gets the current time. And it explains what to do. Now, all of this is out of the service, out of the box, but you can customize all of this, and you can write your own stuff in here as well. So that's why I sort of related that back into the which model to choose. Well, how complex is the reasoning that you need to do around your particular use case? And then, of course, as well, which models are supported by agents for Amazon Bedrock.
For sure. You've also half answered this other question, which was how does logging and tracing work with this? And I guess it goes back to my point from earlier about, like, don't leave all of your good cloud architecture skills at the door when you work with generative AI,
Absolutely
and logging
not.
and tracing is such a big part of this. Are there any key considerations or maybe some best practices you can leave people with?
Yeah, so look, the API that you can use to actually call this will also allow you to get access to all of this information, which is the reasoning and stepping through. It's also obviously right here, so as you're developing it and working at it in the console, you can sort of troubleshoot and sort of see what's happening. The other thing to point out as well, and we looked at this briefly before, is if you scroll to the bottom on the left-hand side of the Amazon Bedrock console page, down in settings, we have the ability to be able to turn on logging. Now, this particular region doesn't have it turned on currently. So if I just turn it on, I'm not going to go through the whole step-up set for this because there are a few things that you have to do. But you can log the metrics. So this is the token counts that are used. It's also going to look at the latency and things like that. So you can keep an eye on that. Look at your prompts and your prompt lengths that you're using to be able to impact that. And then you've also got CloudWatch logs, where you can actually end up outputting both the prompts and the generations. So you do need to think about that. I mean, we talked about well architected before, so you do need to make sure that you've got appropriate security around the CloudWatch logs, because there could be sensitive information and PII in there as well. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah, that's something to point out there.
That's very sensible advice for someone standing in front of a Minecraft screen.
Yeah. Yes. Used to do a lot of well architected in my time, and yes, it is very important stuff. So yeah,
It is. Okay, shall we?
Shall we?
Stop the foundation of what is agents.
Yeah.
And have a short break.
Okay.
And come back.
Come right back
with
at
with the main demo.
Let's make it happen.
So
let's get something happening here.
Let's get something happening here. So rejoin us. We're just going to get set up, and we're going to talk about, well, basically why the theme is what it is for this stream today.
And why the animal noises.
And why the animal noises, and why we've been talking about rocks, and we've been talking about Minecraft, and there's Brooke's got a lovely Minecraft block there, glasses. We've got everything. So if you're interested and you want to see a pretty cool demo, we'll be back very shortly.
Okay.
Yes.
Hi, and welcome back to Build on Generative AI.
Build on
Live.
Generative AI
Generative
edition.
AI
This
Special.
is a test, Derek.
Why can't I say it? So, if you've missed the previous 2.5 hours, where have you been? It's all recorded. That's fine. But here we're in the last half hour of a live stream, live on the AWS LinkedIn channel and the AWS Developers YouTube channel. So if you're on those channels, please jump on those channels and chat with us. Brooke, who's doing the chat at the minute, is really looking for someone to put a sock emoji in one of the chats so she can then ask the question from a sock puppet. And we really, really want her to do that.
For business synergy purposes, I have heard that it is difficult to post a sock emoji in LinkedIn. But first of all, that should be a feature. That should be part of business professional networking.
Good point.
Feature request. Also, find a way. But it's great. Honestly, we're just getting started with the show as well. We've just been getting started. So much of what we've explained earlier will feature in this segment. Are there any pieces you'd like to call back to now before you get started on things we may have covered that are going to come in handy? Maybe agents?
When I cast my mind back to the beginning of this stream,
I can't remember.
we were younger people.
Back in the dark and distant times.
Yes.
It felt dark because you were in the dungeon in the corner.
Yes, that's true.
Now you're in the light. You've got so much real estate now.
So we are putting many building blocks together for this last demo. Brooke mentioned agents. We'll be also using Lambda functions.
Yes.
And Mike will be showing you some of his best code.
Yes. Well, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what we want to do here is we want to start playing Minecraft, right? And we have this challenge where obviously we are in the Minecraft world and we're on our lonesome, we're on our own. Literally, I think if I look around, there's a few animals over there which may or may not be the ones that we can hear.
We can hear them.
Yes. And I don't think even there's a village. Like, that's it. Nothing. So we're bored. We want a buddy to come play with us. So
Let's build one. Let's build one.
better still, what about if we've already built one and we show it? Because no one's got that amount of time.
This is a question Mike and I asked ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
2 weeks ago. And we built one
Yes,
with the help of the developer relations team. And we presented about it for the first time yesterday. And so
Yes.
we're now going to do
Yes.
it on a live stream.
So this has been a lot of fun. So in the last half hour, previous half hour, we looked at creating a very, very simple agent to be able to tell the time.
Yes.
And through the process of doing that, we created a Lambda function. The Lambda function was the thing that actually responded back with the time. And that works really well, right? So that means that the logic, the business logic, the code logic is hosted somewhere. In this particular architecture, though, what we want is we want to have some persistent connection in with the Minecraft world. And we don't actually want to run this from a Lambda function. So while we could do that, the bot would appear when the Lambda function triggered, do something, and then disappear again.
Because it's got no state.
It's got no state. We want, and by design, it has no state. So we want something with state. So the idea here is to have our application either running inside of a container, which would be our deployment into production, which we've got a version of that. Which
We do.
Or we're just going to have it, in this particular case, running on the laptop so that we can actually look at it and watch the debug and come through as we're working with it.
Okay. Yep.
Now, that's great, but when we created our agent before, we created that Lambda function. How do we get the agent to trigger code running somewhere else?
In Minecraft. Yep.
And this was that other option that we looked at before. So if I have a look at the many, many different versions we have this, if we go and do the edit here, we get to see a little bit more in depth of, I guess, what you might consider to be a bit more of a complete solution with agents. So again, we're using Claude 3 Haiku for this particular agent. Again, very fast. It's intelligent and fast. And then here, you remember before we had a piratic thing.
Yes, it was a lot shorter than this.
Do you like that? Piratic. Put that next to Agentic.
That's
please.
okay.
Yes.
I had a comment earlier after you said like adding things to your spell check on your computer, and I asked what people were adding to their spell check on their computer, and piratic apparently is now added to this because Mike just said it out loud.
It's now a thing if it wasn't before. Yeah. So now we've got this this instruction set. Now, it just looks like a lot of text which is just like dumped in here, which basically it is. The reason why it's not necessarily formatted super well for a human to read is partially to do with the fact that this was actually deployed with CloudFormation.
Yep.
So we could put some more line breaks in.
Yeah, there's no line breaks. Yep.
But guess what? You're a friendly, playful and friendly.
Well, there we go again.
Yes.
Wow.
See, I like it when it's
this one's
playful
creative
and friendly
as well.
Maybe maybe we should make an evil one at some point. But yeah, I like it when it's friendly.
Let's not demo that one live.
Let's not demo that one live. I mean, we took this to the Singapore AWS Summit, and our lovely, friendly, creative Minecraft agent met the public. And we all know what it's like when people in the real world interact with things in the virtual world. The first thing they want to do is punch it in the face.
Well, the second one, the second thing they want to do is refer to everything as fearless leader, which was really interesting.
That's right, yes.
Leader.
And then dig a hole and jump in was the top prompt. Anyway, I understand. I have no criticism of the people that did that. Anyway, so here's the instructions we've got. Now let's keep cracking on. Then we have a number of different action groups. So last time we said how we can have many. We have many here. We have one with actions, some with calculations, an experimental one. Ooh, I wonder what that is. That's probably a time we should probably come to a single shot of me going.
I'm really scared.
And some server-related stuff. Okay, so if I go into actions here, I'm going to scroll down, and for the keen-eyed amongst you, you'll notice that we've actually got something called return control there. And so what happens here is instead of calling a Lambda function, it's just going to send us a payload back and say, go run this function. So all of the logic of the agent and the way that the agent works and the thinking and the reasoning is going to happen inside of the service through an API endpoint. And then it's going to tell us or tell our code what the deterministic part and what to run.
Yes.
So go run this tool. Once you've done that, I'll tell you what to do next.
Yep.
So that's return control. If you're familiar with large language models and function calling, which is something that some of the model providers do, Mistral, for example, you can configure the model to be able to return back to you and say, go run this function. This is this, but this is running as a service. So we have a number of different actions. And these are all pretty simple things.
Yep.
I think get time is actually in here somewhere.
It depends who you are. Action jump can sometimes be tricky.
Yes, okay, fair enough. So action jump, jump your character. So we're describing to the agent what it can do with its character playing in the game. Again, the intention here is that it can play alongside us. Then we have action dig, which is a bit more complex, right? And you notice that this one actually has parameters that get sent in. So when the agent is going to ask for something to be dug through action dig, it will send in the depth and the width of the thing, the hole that it wants us to dig, it to dig. And so we have a bunch of other things there. Is it raining? Get player location, action move to location. These types of things. Yep. I'll show you just briefly what happens.
Before you do.
Yeah.
Before you do.
Oh gosh, I think something might have happened.
Something has happened.
Yes.
Uh-oh. We have a question from a sock.
The question is just parrotic with a question mark and a sock. And quite frankly, same. Because I looked this up, and there's not even consistent spelling for this, Mike.
Well, that's
is it a real word?
Well, I mean, we've said it, and it's on the internet, so therefore it's a real word.
I'll completely debate that. It's not a real word.
Is that parrotic? That's not. It's not like being a parrot.
Parrotic.
That's another word.
Well,
Parrotic.
maybe it is. Maybe it's like a Langchain thing that Lego's like a parrot.
Probably.
Yeah.
Is the Langchain logo have
Could be.
Yeah. I wasn't lying about the sock puppets, everyone. So keep the sock emojis coming.
Oh, good.
The terror in Mike's voice. Soon the trapdoor will just open up for me down here and just forever.
The sock puppets were made specially for this.
Yes, and thank you to whoever made those sock puppets.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Brooke. So before, when we asked the agent the time, it came back with the time inside of this chat because it went off and ran the Lambda function. This time, if I say, what is the time? Because there is, I think we saw it in here somewhere, there is a tool which can figure out what the time is and whether it's raining and all kinds of stuff like that. And if I run that, it won't answer the question. What it'll do is it'll respond back to us with the function that needs to be called. So action get time, and in this particular case, it's no inputs for it. If we were to say something different, such as, as click on the right thing, say dig a hole, let's see what it comes back with. Now, there's a couple of things that might happen here. Yeah, okay, so it's come back with the action dig, and the depth and the width that needs to be passed into that function.
Sure. Yep, nice.
So it's not doing anything at the moment. We need to hook it up to a whole bunch of code.
Something needs to dig.
Something needs to dig. That sounds like a hip-hop album that I want to... Oh, gosh. All right, so...
Okay, don't know where you're going there, but let's continue.
Dig it. The other setting I'll just quickly show you here is we do have enabled this user input setting. And basically what this does, again, it's through prompt engineering, and we would have seen that in the template if we looked for it. This will give the agent permission to ask a follow-up question. So sometimes when you ask it to dig a hole, it will say, how big do you want me to dig that hole? Yeah. And we can provide that information for it. So in a nutshell, there's our agent all set up. We just need some code to link it to, and then we just need to get on with playing Minecraft, don't we?
Yeah. Let's shall we demo?
Yeah, okay, let's demo.
Let's see.
Yeah. Let's cut to the chase.
I think what we haven't mentioned, Mike, is the way we communicate to the agent is using a third-party Mindflare application. So how we're using this, we've got Minecraft running locally, Minecraft server, and we've got Mindflare, which is an open source library, freely available. You can go and have a play with it, download it to run bots in Minecraft, and that has a number of plugins, including pathfinding, and so what we're doing is we're sending the right commands to this open source bot framework
Yes, the
to do
agent
things.
sending the commands. Yeah.
Yeah, the royal we. I am not.
Right.
I find myself thinking I'm an agent these
Yes,
days.
yes,
Yeah.
feels like that. Yes.
So let's see what it looks like. Shall we?
Absolutely. So I've just run the code, and you'll be happy to know that it's TypeScript. Yes, it was Python up until about a week or two ago, and now it is far more stable, I'll be honest with you. So it says bot spawned. So let's go and have a look. Of course, it's nighttime.
Well, have you fixed that bug?
No, I haven't. No. So whenever we say anything in chat, in the text chat of the game, the model will respond. So let's just initially do something super simple, and we're just going to say hello, and basically we'll just see if they're there. So it says that Rocky has joined the game, and Rocky is our Bedrock,
Hello,
Bedrock
Rocky.
Agent that's in there. And so
He's not there.
we say hello, and if we go back and have a look at our debug code, then so
Have you got a?
it shows that we don't have
You've expired
AWS credentials. So how many times? So just give me 1 second, folks.
How about you disconnect? So my if you
But put a logo up or something. Yeah, you
disconnect.
they get the
Excellent.
idea.
Well, I'll
They
talk.
know what's going on.
So,
here.
Mike, for those of you who haven't seen an AWS stream or live video before,
Like me,
this
apparently.
is where presenters usually stop and frantically type in their credentials to the AWS account so that they can connect and use the application. Because we use least privilege, so all of our sessions expire really quickly, and you should have that same effect as well. So that's what Mike's doing. He's putting in his credentials. So that
It's
then
actually more
he can
difficult when you're
use
talking like that. Isn't it?
the application.
All right.
And funny enough, we actually talked about this before this live show and bet each other it was going to happen, and it did.
I logged in when I was over there. It's fine. Okay, so it's spawned the bot again.
He's done it now.
We are testing in product.
Let's try again.
Mindset.
So I'll just say a simple test. Hello. Come on now. Unless I just got that. Yeah. That's it.
Yes, and there we go.
So it's responded. Okay, so my simplest test here. This isn't actually using any tools at this point, but it is using the agent. So the agent actually has got memory inside of it, and so you can have a conversational flow. So I don't know. I'm all for testing things that I've never tested before.
Absolutely.
So what did I just say? Yeah, so it said, you just said hello. Okay, so we've got this conversational flow here.
Right, so it's a chatbot.
It's a chatbot. It's so much better than a chatbot, but it's kind of like a chatbot.
So where is the bot?
All right, let's find it. It shouldn't be too far away. It's over there. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the set time in, and I'm going to set the time to daylight so that we can see what's going on. Now, what will happen at this point is that the bot will hear us saying that and probably say something to the effect of, I can't, because that's just gone into the general chat as well. So we'll just wait for the bot to respond to that, see what it says. Yes, I'm sorry. See, it's friendly.
It is very friendly and creative.
And creative. I don't have a way to set the time. But it's okay. Rocky, it's all right.
Rocky.
We've done it for you. It's fine. All right. What should we get this bot to do?
It's quite a long way away, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, right. Whoa. Sorry. Yes, it's a long way away.
It's a long way
so
away.
Let's get it to come
Do
to
not
us.
move.
I'm not moving. I will type, though.
Type.
Yeah, okay. Hey, come to me. And so when we looked through that list of the different tools that it had, it did not have a tool which was the come to me tool, right? It had a bunch of tools. One of the things it had was to be able to find the location of other entities, of which as a player I'm an entity, and it also has the ability to move. So what it's gone and done there, and we can actually see this if we sort of pass through all of this, is it's gone and found itself. So there's the move to action. If we go back to the previous one, again, we're looking at debug code here.
So this is the bot's running in a terminal here,
Yes.
and this is the output from the said terminal.
That's right. And it is quite verbose, if I'm honest with you. So it's outputting a lot of stuff about the mind flayer stuff. But this section here is the return control stuff. And so what we have here is the return of our return to the bot saying we figured out where the location is. So here we go. Action get player location. It reasoned with itself that it needed to do this. It asked for my location.
Yep.
So it's actually extracted that piece of information out and pushed it into the function call. We've then done that function call on its behalf and sent it the information back, including the X, Y, Z coordinates of where I'm at.
Yep.
So then it said, cool, I've got that. Now what I need to do is I need to move to that XYZ location. And look what it's done there, is it's looked at the answer we've given it back, which happened to be kind of JSON-like formatting. Mm-hmm. It's extracted those values out and it's put them into the function call to move to me. So this simple demonstration has already shown reasoning, planning, and function calling.
Very cool.
I love this.
Okay.
Hey, Mike, Derek.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no, we have
another
more.
Socky. Another question from Socky.
Tell Rocky to dig a hole.
Okay. Okay, Socky.
Thank you, Socky.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
So, dig a hole from Socky says dig a hole, Mike.
And I'm also going to be kind to it. So please, can you dig a hole? Let's just do that and see what it says. And so what we should, off it goes.
Whoa.
Yeah, here we go. Watch out. It's
Out of
going
the
to
way.
dig it underneath me. And so it actually, as part of its code, the tool it has is to dig a circular hole. So that's, circular.
Minecraft circular.
It's Minecraft circular hole. Yeah. And so there it's dug a hole. Now it'll be interesting to see how deep it thinks that hole is. We are at this intersection between the agent
Yes.
and its ability and me and my code. Yeah, and it jumps into the hole. Woohoo,
Yes.
I know what you want.
Luckily, the hole has a bottom.
Luckily, the hole has a bottom.
Yeah.
It's really just one layer away from we having to figure out how to respawn that bot. Mm-hmm. So
Skydiving.
awesome. Now, the Pathfinder it has the ability to be able to get out of holes. So let's ask it to come back here so we can get it out, ready to do something else. We don't want it to dig more holes when it's that deep already. And there it goes. There it comes.
Nice.
And it's come up to me.
Make his own song. So another thing, right? So we're talking about finding things in
Yes.
Minecraft.
Yes, yes.
We're hearing a lot of sounds of animals.
I've been hearing those.
Can we find? I don't know.
Yeah.
Think of an animal that's not a sock puppet.
A pig.
A pig.
A pig. I just took a quick scan around. I think we might be in luck.
Okay.
So let's go and ask Rocky to do that. So so let's say again. I start with please. Please find
So polite.
a pig, and then let's go there. Oh, I didn't spell it right. So large language models are pretty forgiving with spelling. So I'm asking it a couple of things here. We'll see what it does. Oh, well, off it goes.
Quick.
Whoa. Wait, I gotta wait for me.
Run.
Wait for me. Okay, it's finding a pig. It's found
Find
pigs.
all the pigs.
So of course, what's happening here is when it runs the code to find the pig, then the pigs have a tendency to walk, which is a bit annoying.
Well, because Rocky is quite scary.
Rocky is quite scary, yes. Is there anything else that we want to do at this point? I mean, there is something that people always ask
Well,
for
yeah,
at this point.
you alluded to Singapore Summit.
Yes.
And in Singapore Summit,
Yes.
you usually hit the pig,
Slash
the pig.
Slash the pig.
Yeah, that
Yes.
was the sort of things that
We're going to draw the
happens
line.
when we put it in
We're not going to
real
kill
world.
the pig, but let's
Do not.
go to the pig and attack the pig. I don't know why I'm not speaking. I'm now not speaking in very good natural language. Let's see. It was already close by. And so do you see it wave its arm then? So
It
it
went
was
for
having
you.
a go.
It
Oh,
went for
look at the pig. So what do you want? What are you
That's
doing?
that's the friendliest pig I've ever seen.
Why? Okay.
What? Pig loves you.
Yeah. I don't know if it thinks it's closer. Oh, it's trying to attack the pig. It kind of did it, right? It put its arm. Maybe that's as far.
Maybe not the pig.
Oh, yeah, oh, right. Keep going. What's that? Is that a sheep? I think it might be a. Yeah.
Someone says drag the pig through my headset, in fact. Not even a live comment.
Oh,
just
wow.
My little earpiece.
That sounds like it might be sheep. I think I heard the sheep.
That is a sheep. That looks like a black sheep.
Find a sheep and attack it. I'm just cutting to the chase. Again, this is putting together multiple different actions. That's what we're looking at here is agentic workflows, not animal cruelty. So it's... he missed it because the sheep was too fast. Do you know,
It's a flighty little animal.
I'm glad of it, if I'm honest. I think this is okay. I think that's okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
So what else should we do?
Yeah, so it's got some other actions that we can do in here as well. So it's not currently, well, let's ask it. So what is the, ooh.
I'm taking requests in the chat
right.
as well.
Oh, yeah,
As you
okay,
all
cool.
saw, like we had that before. We had a demand, in fact, to dig the hole. So any options?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. With this,
Customer obsession.
with the puppet emoji, if you can.
Oh, yeah. Gift with purchase. Gift with purchase.
So I just asked Rocky there whether it was what the weather was like. So it doesn't have a weather service or anything like that, but
Right.
it looked through its set of tools and it knows that it's got the ability to see whether it's raining or not. So it's come back and said the weather is clear right now. I think we did the demo yesterday and it was raining.
Yeah, it was.
I'm sure there's probably a way for me to make it rain, but it was raining. And I asked the bot, why is my head getting wet right now? And again, natural language reasoning, it looked through, it used the tool and said, because it's raining. So these are the kinds of things that it can do. Run away, sheep, run away. Okay. So is there another request coming up or shall we get
Yes,
it
but
to
the
do
thing
something?
is I needed my typing hand and my sock hand, which presented itself as an issue. However, can it dance?
Can it dance? We can have a go at dancing. Well, let's ask it. Can you dance?
Can I just ask, Brooke, is that Healy or Toey?
Oh, would you like it? They can make an appearance. I have more socks. Oh
Oh, right.
my goodness. I am shocked that went anywhere near Derek. I don't know if this is not apparent, but I am not a sports or outdoorsy person, so the fact I threw something that landed even close is...
Fair enough. All right, so we're going to say, can you dance? Now, there isn't a function to dance. I'm wondering whether it's going to map that to something. What it also might do... Oh, there we go. Yeah, it jumped up and down.
That's a jump.
It was a jump. But that's the closest thing it's got to dancing, so it's reasoned through that. And you're not impressed? Wow.
Wow.
I tell you what, I'll teach you a bit of TypeScript and you can make it dance. How about that? Now I'm talking to a sock puppet. Okay. Yeah, so that was a thing. So there are some other...
That was a thing.
That was a thing.
That just happened.
There are some other things to do. Right, so we did talk before about experimental. Can we talk about experimental now? Is now a good time to do that?
Let's talk about experimental. So we've seen some of the more basic things that the bot can do. It can find you. It can dance. We call it jump or jump dance.
Yes.
It can dig a hole.
Yes.
It can
follow. Yeah.
It can find a pig, and the pig can run away, or the pig can come up to it and be.
Do you know what? One of the things I quite like now. It works better when you're inside of a village. This one.
Yes. Okay.
But it can say, let's play hide and seek.
Maybe this answers the latest question as you're doing it.
Oh, well, that's how these things seem to work, isn't it?
Yeah,
Does Rocky
so-
have any hobbies?
Well,
Right.
does Rocky have hobbies?
Sorry. Sorry. Yes. Well, let's see if it wants to play hide and seek. I will go hide. Then you can find me. I will say when I am ready. Okay. So basically,
Run.
setting up it's getting dark. So that's going to make it better for hide and seek, right? If it's dark. So I'm going to say, awesome. I'm ready to play hide and seek. Go ahead and hide.
Hide behind the
I'm going to
black
hide
sheep.
behind the black sheep. Okay. Where did it go? It's dark. You probably can't see. Probably the.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm scared now.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to say ready. Okay, let's see what happens. Now, this has been very interesting to watch this happen.
What's she doing? Oh, it's eating
Rocky,
grass.
and hopefully you can see this. Rocky's actually just come. Right.
Yay!
Okay, well done, Rocky. Fantastic. I think I've found it. Yes, you have. Well done. Now again,
Find you and the sheep.
and the sheep, reasoning through all this kind of stuff. In the past, we've actually seen a little bit of personality come from Rocky. Obviously, I think if we were to look at the logs there, it probably cheated and looked at my specific XYZ location and found me. In the past, though, we've definitely seen it say, I'm not going to use that tool because that would be cheating. So I like it. Rocky's got a conscience. Conscience.
Always let your conscience be your guide.
So let's get back to daylight and do that kind of thing again. So bing, there we go. Yeah, there are ways that you can do that with Archon connections. So we'll have to look at doing that at some point.
So
Right, anyway.
we need to get to
Experimental.
the experimental stuff.
Okay.
Mike.
So here's some of the TypeScript code that we've got, which is sort of making this happen behind the scenes. So we've got here an action handler, which basically takes in, as a case statement, any of the particular actions which are being asked for. And one of them in here is the action to go build. And then we've got a bunch of different action includes imports
Yes.
that are inside of here.
Includes
and
Python.
yeah, yes. I'm 2 weeks into my TypeScript journey. I think this is okay, and I had a lot of help from Q and from
You don't
Claude.
have to apologize to me.
I feel like I do. So inside of here we have this action build, and so this is a whole heap of code. But what this is doing is it's using this prompt template here, and so what's actually going to happen here is agentic workflow using a tool which is itself going to call another large language model. So if I just do word wrap, does that make it a bit better? Yeah, there we go. So I put this template together to help us to go build something. So it says, you are tasked with designing creations in Minecraft. I'll prompt you with a structure type between the input tags, and then basically you go off and define that in this format here, which we've got this sample output here, which is this JSON structure. So basically an XYZ location for a block, and then the type of block that you want us to place there. There is a small typo there. It's not a major drama. So basically when the tool gets called, it itself is going to make a call out to another large language model to get this fulfilled and hopefully get some answer back. Hugely experimental.
Let's demo it live.
Let's demo it live. What could possibly go wrong? Basically, the code that I've made to actually lay blocks, it's so complicated. I can't tell you. It's so much more complicated than I think it should have to be. But we'll see. As a conjunction and joining of the two things together, let's see what happens. So we can say...
Okay, so you're going to build something.
Yeah, let me...
We have an audience request.
Oh, already? Oh, build a house for the pig.
12.
Okay.
That's an excellent one.
Build a...
We missed the opportunity for the soccer.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
How could you, Mike?
I'm sorry. For a...
Build a house for the pig.
The pig.
And cut.
All right, build a house for the pig. Let's just do that and see what happens. So we talked previously on this stream about how when we make a generation request of a large language model, if we stream the data out, it can come really quickly. What we're actually doing here is we're actually going to do a whole bunch of generation in the back end, and we're not going to see any results until that's finished. So that's why I'm talking.
Yes.
So it has said, let me see.
Still thinking.
And now it's going off and now it's building
we're
something.
off.
So let's see what it manages to build. It likes to build things that look kind of okay, but don't actually have any insides. There's the house for the pig.
The pig has a window in it.
The pig has a window.
Very distinct architectural style,
Yeah, it
which
is,
I
isn't it?
respect.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
have to-
they've got a point of view.
I think that with some prompt engineering, we're going to be able to push this further, and we'll be able to make it even better. This is currently using Sonnet as well, so we've got a lot of scope inside of the actual prompt template that we put together to give it more examples, for example, like how to build walls and all that kind of stuff.
Can we go quickly to the chat? Well, one more chat. What do you want the bot to build? Well, I have a request of what I want it to build.
Yeah, okay.
Because I heard that it builds an amazing airplane.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
Did you?
There's still time for you to ask your own question in the chat, Derek.
Quick.
I'm occasionally just resetting the bot, so just to give it maximum chance. All right. Please build an airplane. Go. Let's see what happens. Now, I mean, it's got access to some rudimentary blocks.
Do you want to see while it's let me see? Do you want to see the stream?
Yeah.
The stream.
As in this thing. Yeah. So let me scroll to the bottom of here. Goodness me, there's a lot of stuff going on here. Not right now, Chris.
Busy right now.
So what's it doing? So basically, it's filled out the template here, as we can see, and so it's put into the input airplane, aeroplane, whatever, and so it should come back momentarily with the generation from Claude 3 Sonnet. So we're looking for that to happen. Meanwhile, we can't see the bot because it's the same screen, right?
Yep.
So come on, we're all on tenterhooks here.
This is going to be quite the construction of
Yeah.
the aeroplane.
And you see what's happening here is it's in the prompt. It's actually, we're giving it space to think. This is an interesting prompting technique to basically say, first of all, output your rationale of what you want to do. Then once you've done that, output something, a review. So review that plan, and then ultimately come out with the blocks, which I'm glad to say it has actually done now.
That's good timing.
Yes. So if we have a look here, it's scrolling so fast. So we can see a whole bunch of blocks has come out in the output section of the prompt. I'd like to see more of it. We'll have to get back to it in a minute. It's still scrolling away.
Streaming.
Let's go and have a look. All right, here's our aeroplane, folks. I love it.
That works so much better.
Yesterday?
Yesterday, was that yesterday or the day before?
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's a plane with some windows.
Yes, well, I mean, maybe we weren't very specific about the kind of plane that we wanted.
All in the prompt engineering, you know.
It is.
So
absolutely.
I'm not going to blame Rocky for that. That is absolutely, as you say, that's prompt templating and the rest of it. We can make that work better. The fact, honestly, that it built anything at all makes me supremely happy.
One last build, and then we'll probably have to...
One last build, did you say?
Yes. So you've got one, Healy?
Bill, I can see what it says on the screen.
Build a car that flies, which I personally, and I know Soki, who has really sparkly eyes, is also really excited for.
Okay.
Build a car that flies.
How are we doing with? We'll just have a look down here. I think it probably was going to turn out to be so much more of a plane than that. And now look, it's raining. Okay, so come here. Let's give it another chance. I will do it. Clearly, the output will. Yeah. Okay. Build a car that flies. Fine. Build a car.
So the joy of doing a Gen AI live demo, folks, is you never know what's going to happen.
You never know what you're going to get.
You really don't know.
No.
It's like flying by the seat of your pants.
It's a lot of fun, isn't it? And a flying car. Something in a flying car. So yeah, we can go back to there and we'll see. So whilst it's doing that, let's go and see if we can. Just want to see. I think we get the prompt output. Gosh, there is a lot of stuff here, isn't there?
It's a lot of numbers.
Oh no, it's kicked off. It's doing stuff now.
No.
No, okay. Yes, but basically, just wanted to see that in the template it does actually. I've run out of room in my debug window. So it does have that thinking and review. So it gives it the chance to sort of polish up what it's doing, which is another reason why it sort of takes a little length of time for this to come back.
The question that we always get when we demo this is when can we see the code? So we're trying to get the code released.
Yeah.
As soon as we can.
Yeah, look, and help us make this better, right? So it clearly is work in progress. Here's your flying car. Whoever asked for that. Let me set the time whilst it's doing that. Time set today. Oh, no, it's just because it's raining. It's so dark, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, my, that's uncanny.
And to build that quickly in those conditions is very impressive. I'd like to point out.
Looks just like a flying car. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, it does actually know that the tool it's using to build is experimental. And so sometimes it comes back and says, I don't know.
Cool.
I don't know, whatever.
All right, I think we'll stop our building there. We'll take a short break and we'll come back for a wrap-up.
Okay.
Yes, we made it. 3 hours.
And we learned so much. We started back at Amazon Q Developer, which feels like 10 years ago, which shows you how much it's changed. There's probably been some features released during the time that we were up here talking.
Yeah, most probably. And
we went to Bedrock.
yeah, we did. We went on to Bedrock. Then we went on to RAG.
Retrieval augmented generation for everyone who's added that to their spell check since then.
Then we also invented some words.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like pyrotic.
Piratic, yes. Piratic and agentic.
Agentic.
Yes.
We heard some sheep.
We looked at Python, and we looked at TypeScript, and we looked at... that's probably it. Did we look at any other languages?
Yeah, we probably mentioned a few.
did,
Yeah, and there's so much to keep track of, but there's so many ways you can learn with AWS to keep going. I really recommend Community AWS. I know I've written some articles there about generative AI. I know these guys have as well. What's your big tip for someone who wants to learn generative AI? What's the advice you can give them?
Mike, I'll let you go first. Yeah.
Yes, look, experimentation is the way to go. Look, we are right at the start of this, right? So last year was a lot about experimentation. This year, people are trying to get proof of concepts up and running. The thing that really excites me about this is that anybody who's even watching this right now, and any of us, could come up with the next massive idea. We are interacting with these models with language. We're not doing numbers and curly braces and code as much. There's a bit of that, of course. It's all with natural language. So if you can persuade a large language model to do something different that no one's ever seen before, then it's open for everybody.
And I will absolutely debate that because it's always based on what you want to do and how you want to interact. So we have a whole bunch of playgrounds that show you how to write API calls to Amazon Bedrock in various languages, in C#, in Java, in TypeScript. So if you have the background like me who likes to write code, then that's a great place, and that's where I would start my journey. Maybe not. I'm very bad at English in text, so I would go with code and write some code using the playgrounds.
Do whatever works. That's the thing, right? I wrote an article called "How to Learn Generative AI from Scratch" for Community AWS, and it's like a book report, which I used to do in primary school when you read a new book and you would write all the new words that you learned, and like you would draw like a diagram of the plot, things like that. Do that when you're doing these playgrounds. Like do that when you're doing your side projects, even if you're making something with sock puppets or Minecraft, because you're going to learn so much along the way. But your best way to keep yourself motivated is to remind yourself how much you've learned and give yourself all that information in a way that works for you. So make sure you're actually getting out there and building, but keep track of what you're doing, because this stuff changes so quickly.
So quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly. So I hope we're doing a closer stream now, I think. 3 hours is enough, everybody.
Yes.
So I hope you've enjoyed our 3 hours. I hope you stayed for all of the 3 hours. If you didn't, we won't hold it against you.
But they can tune into the recording, right? That will be on our YouTube channel.
Many times.
Yeah, the AWS Developers YouTube channel. Thanks to everyone who's joining there and subscribing.
Thanks to everybody who's been watching. Also, thank you to everybody who's helped us put this together as well. So I want to make a big call out to Tiffany, who helped out a lot with the Minecraft code that we had there. Tiffany, you'll know what this is for. Everybody else can go and watch the live stream they did from Portland last week. Thank you, Tiffany, and everybody else.
And our enormous team behind the scenes who have made this possible. Thank you so much, and thanks to everyone in the comments.
Thanks. So hopefully we can get a chance to do this again. If you liked it, let us know.
Yes.
Until then,
keep building.
We will see you next time, or building, or doing whatever makes you happy.
Yes. Keep on doing it.